This is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Stubbs. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
I see a whole bunch of ladies here, but no men. Where is he?
I tried to talk him into coming, but he was too embarrassed to be on TV with this matter. Yes.
Shh. They caused the trouble.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
And they just drop it and walk away. So, ladies, let's us have a little talk.
Yes.
You want me to leave?
No, you can stay, Bert. You're close enough. You were seeing the defendant's husband.
Right. Yes.
And you claimed at the time you started to see him, you didn't know he was married. You
Exactly.
found out he was married. Your claim is that even when you broke up with him, or he broke up with you, whatever it was, that his wife, the defendant, vandalized your property, caused you great stress, was harassing you. She says that it's actually you who were doing the stalking, the harassing, the interfering with her family. So I have a claim and a counterclaim, each in the same amount of money, $1,000. Right?
Right.
And somebody has a protective order. Who has a protective order?
I do.
I'd just like to take a look at that document, please. When did you start to see her husband?
Say 96, September of 96.
And how long did you see him?
For approximately a year.
And you haven't seen him since 1997?
Well, actually, I haven't seen him since like 99. Actually, I've seen him, but not as a relationship. I've seen him. For him fixing my car, he has a shop. He's a mechanic.
But since 1999, you haven't had a romantic relationship with him?
No.
You telling me the truth?
Yes, I mean, I'm married and everything. I've gotten married and everything, so.
It's over.
Been over.
All right. You have any information?
Yes.
They've been seeing each other since?
She was just trying to convince me that she was still dating him just last month.
How was that?
She was calling my cell phone, and I have my cell phone bill. When she was in the hospital and she was so sick, but she had enough time to call me continuously.
Did you call her for any reason?
Well, actually, she called me, and she came to my house and left a letter at my house on the 12th of April. This is how this whole thing started. She came to my house, left this letter right here, which is the same date that she broke the window, which is the pictures right here.
Just a second, just a second. Did you send this letter
I
to her?
did.
Could we talk for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like grown-up gals. You have a husband?
Mm-hmm.
He's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have anything to do with her husband?
No.
You believe that?
Well, I believe it now.
Do you have children?
No, I don't. I have custody of my niece, though.
How old is she?
9 years old.
How long have you had custody of her?
Well, like the last 6 years. She's been with me for about 6 years.
And you have a husband?
Yes.
How long are you married?
Since August 26th of 2000.
Is he a nice man?
Very.
What kind of work does he do?
In the oil refinery, the oil field.
And do you work?
No, I don't.
So you stay home and take care of your niece?
Exactly.
Any reason you want to have grief with this lady?
Well, no, I don't have a
No,
problem
no.
with her.
How old are you?
32.
Any reason why you should want to have grief with this lady? Well, grief in your life.
No, but what I'm saying is,
The answer
can I
is no.
explain myself?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to have any grief in your life, right?
No, I don't.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been married?
I've been married 6 years.
Does your husband work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a mechanic.
You have to find someplace else, by the way, to have your car fixed. I know you haven't been back there in a while. Find someplace else. There are lots of
No
mechanics.
problem, you're right.
Because that just starts trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't want to have any further dealings with her, do you?
Never did.
So why don't we come together, ladies, and come to terms with the fact that all of this trouble started because a guy was cheating on his wife, using two women at the same time. Because he didn't tell you he was married, right?
No, he
That's
didn't.
what you told me. And I'm sure he didn't tell you he was fooling around.
Can I say something?
Yes.
When he was cheating with her and she found out he was married, she thought she should help him to destroy his marriage, and she started calling my job to tell me what color underwear my husband has on as if I didn't wash them.
Just a minute. Let me tell you something. He was the user.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he conned her into thinking he was available, he allowed her emotions to run full circle. And all of a sudden, she finds out he's married. It's much easier to take things out on each other than it is to take things out on the person who's responsible, and that's the guy who was afraid to come to court today, right?
Right.
Why should you two ladies be dumb enough to suffer for what he did? Which is really what you've been doing to each other. Both of you have been doing it to each other. Both of you. And that's ridiculous. He caused the trouble. You know, he makes a mess and he walks away, leaving two ladies to fight over him, and he's probably enjoying it, and he's probably not worth it. Very few of them are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natalie Walker says her ex-boyfriend's wife, Deshaun Stubbs, broke her living room window with a bottle of Snapple. Natalie also claims Deshaun slashed her tires and wrote defamatory statements on her garage door.
Yeah, what do you want? Tell me.
Yes, I would like to just say that's really not the problem, wanting him or nothing, or bothering her or nothing like this. My problem is this Easter I was in the hospital, and she came up to the hospital 2 days in a row, you know, to confront me and fight me. We had a fight. I have to report everything at the hospital. This is the problem I'm having with her coming to where I am, you know what I'm saying, as a patient in a hospital and create problems for me.
I read that, and I read that you went to the hospital twice. She
Yes.
was in the hospital.
She was. And I did not assault her, and if I did, I would have been arrested.
Why did you go to the hospital?
She asked me to, and here's my phone bill to prove it. She was calling me, and she was so sick, but yet she wasn't too sick to call me on 439, 442, 518, 519.
Why, just a minute, why did you call her house?
No, her cell phone after she called me. I never called her house. No, I didn't.
Why did you call her cell phone?
Because she had previously called me, and I star 69'd her back. That's how I called her back.
What did you say when you got her on the phone?
I called her and I asked her, I said, why would you call me every year on my birthday like this to create a problem for me? I told you I wasn't messing with your husband. We were just arguing like that over the phone.
Tell me what else was said.
Then she hung up, and then she called me back, and she was like, well, I don't want to cuss. Well, like she said, like I told you, I'm going to make sure you don't mess with my husband, and this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to come. I know where you at. You know I can find where you are.
How many times did you call her on her cell phone that day?
Twice.
What'd you call
her
the
that.
second time for?
Well, because she hung up. She hung up in my face while we were arguing after she said something.
So what'd you call her back for?
To make my point.
So what was your point that you made to her?
That I wasn't messing with her husband, and I'm very tired of her coming
told her
around
that
every
already.
so often.
You told her that
that's what
already.
that was the point I was steadily making.
So then she comes up to the hospital.
Yes.
And she came up to the hospital twice.
Yes.
To
2
see
days.
you. And the second time you had her arrested.
No.
Well, no, both, they just wrote it out. They didn't arrest her neither time. They escorted her out one night, and then the other night, it's all in this report. What
Fine.
happened. So if you
The
would like to
second
see
time,
it.
no. The second time she came up, she also says it was a mistake. It was the mistake to go to the hospital to see her the first time, right?
It was a mistake.
And it was a mistake to go to see her the second time.
It was a She baited me there.
I don't care whether she baited you there. Come on. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
You got how many children?
I have 3 stepkids and a child me and my husband have together, but we take care of all 4 kids.
So you have 4 children to take care of. You got better things to do than
You're
to go to
right.
the hospital to visit somebody that you can't stand. Look, as a result of that, there's an order of protection against
I
you.
filed one against her as well.
But I don't have it.
Well, that's because I just filed today.
Well, but you filed today. No, listen to me.
She will get it.
has one
And she'll
against
get it.
you.
She'll
The
get
order
hers.
of protection. You have to stay 100 yards, 100 feet, 100 miles away from her. You're not supposed to go near her at all.
Which was violated yesterday.
I did not come within no 100 yards of you.
Yesterday, she brought 2 of her friends to my house. They were at my house when I got home, and I was going home to take these pictures to bring to you of my window, so I had a camera with
Let
me.
me see the window pictures.
And so what I did was, while they tried to run off while I was calling the police, I took a picture of them leaving down.
I'm already past the 14th. You left the hospital. You were escorted out of the hospital.
Well, then
You
she
left-
called me all the next day.
I want you to pay careful attention to me, madam. You're escorted out of the hospital Saturday night. You come back to the hospital Easter morning. That's clear from the report.
Okay.
And what I asked you is, why
My
did you
phone
come
was
back?
off.
Your phone was off,
Yes.
so she did not call you.
She did. She left me messages. She left me messages all morning. She called me. Yes, she did.
Oh, well, I don't have those messages.
That's
You have-
because my phone was off.
You have those messages written down?
No, I
You have more-
erased them.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Then I don't believe you.
Your Honor, her number's all on
Do
here. She called
underst-
me.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
She did call me to come back.
No. No. And if she did and you went, you shouldn't have. All right, let's hear your counterclaim. 1, 2, 3, mental anguish.
Your Honor, I have my doctor's statements.
I don't read doctor statements.
Okay, well, she used to call my job with her sexual harassment, you know, and I would have to leave my job at times. If she had a date with my husband, you know, being the other woman, she would call me, you know, and rub my nose in
We're
it at
talking
work.
about 2 years ago.
No, we are talking about recent. She's trying to convince me, and she was trying to convince me when she was in the hospital that she was still seeing my husband. She was saying that he is doing all kind of sexual things to her, and that is what she was trying to convince me while she was in the hospital.
Let
And
me tell you something, Miss Stubbs. When you write a letter to her that says, this time of year I usually have problems out of you by now, could this be that I'm finally rid of you? That you wrote to her on 4/12/01.
Yes.
Which suggests to me that for a long period of time, you had not heard from her. You hadn't heard from her for a long time. What'd you start up with her again for?
Because
you had no reason to start up with her. And then you write something else. I bet you didn't get any something for your birthday. This time, did you? So you were giving her a little bit of a dig that she didn't have your husband for her birthday this time. You're a troublemaker. Get over it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I believe that she slashed your tires. I believe that she broke your window. And I believe she came to the hospital to harass you. You're suing her for $1,000, and I'm going to grant you judgment for $1,000. But I'm telling you this, I tried to start out this case very clearly by saying, ladies, if you allow a man to make a fool out of you, you're a bigger fool. And if you allow your husband to make a big fool out of you, then that's what you are, a big fool. Get over it. She doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's
Thank
all.
you.
We understand each other. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's
Yeah, this is case number 109 on the calendar in the matter of Murray versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Mary, according to your complaint, you loaned the defendant $3,500. You knew him from a previous relationship. You want to tell me when you loaned him the money, what was it for, and where did you get it from?
I loaned him the money in the middle of February. We had known each other about a year and a half prior to. We had been dating. It didn't work out. He couldn't commit. We reconciled at the beginning of the year. He came to me crying about the middle of February, indicating that his life was in danger, that if he didn't have this money, he would be hurt. I trusted him. At that point, he said that he wanted to make this relationship work. I took him for his word. He swindled me.
Where did you get the money from?
It was a tax debt that I owe. I took a loan out on my house.
I just said it was a tax debt. What kind of tax debt?
I owe the IRS money from cashing stock in. I took a mortgage out on my house.
Do you have proof of that?
Yes. He knew I was getting a loan for this money. He came to me right about the time it was about to fund.
Let me see.
Your Honor, that's false. I didn't know anything about the loan until after the fact.
He had made an agreement with me, an oral agreement, that he would pay this back before the 15th.
Just a second. Okay, and what date did he come to you in February?
On the 20th.
And what did he tell you that the money was needed for?
I have no idea. He said that his life was in danger. I took
didn't
him for
ask
his
him?
word. I just saw that he was scared.
And you gave him the money in cash?
Yes. He indicated that was the nature of it.
Your Honor, I do have a
Just a
bank
second.
account. I'm able to cash checks.
Just a second. How much was the amount of your tax bill?
$70,000.
Okay. Go.
Your Honor, this first thing I'd like to present this letter actually that I have. It shows
A letter from what?
It's a letter actually from from the plaintiff. Shows a little bit of what her word is, and
Your Honor,
That's-
I have
that's-
never mailed him any letters.
Just a minute.
it obviously has her. That's the original there, Your Honor, with her signature at the bottom.
I can't read and listen to you at the same time. Okay, just show this to her. That really has nothing to do with this case.
Absolutely nothing.
Well,
has
that goes
nothing
to
to
show
do
that
with
her
the case.
word really means nothing, to tell you the truth, Your Honor. This was not a loan.
Well, tell me what
I
it
had
was,
done
sir. I
work
read
for
your
her.
answer. Tell me what it was.
I had done work for her in the middle of last year. My brother as well was working with me at the time. He was my employee. And we had spoken with her, him and I, at the same time, were present, to do anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 worth of work on her home.
That's a lie.
Skylights, countertop, tile,
Just a
replace a
second.
double door in the front entry.
Okay, so you had started to do some work on her house.
That's correct.
When did you start to do the work on her house?
I believe it was July 24th or 25th. We worked there
Of
for 3 days.
2000?
Yes.
And how many days did you work there?
We worked there for 3 days, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
On the third day, we had the job almost completely done, the portion that we were doing, and she said, I'll finish it myself. Had never given us any money for materials besides a $500 check. She had not paid us for our labor,
Just a
which I
second.
had to pay my employee.
She gave you $500.
A check, that's correct. And that
Well,
was
the
in
check you
July of
cashed.
2000.
Shh, I'm speaking. She gave you a check for $500, and according to you, you worked there 3 days.
That's correct.
Did you have a contract with her?
But we had a verbal agreement.
Did you have a contract with her?
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay. Because no contractor starts a job that says it's between $8,000 and $10,000. When you
She
do
had a list.
I'm speaking. When you do a contract, you say this item is going to cost this and that item is going to cost that. You don't believe that the work that you did in 3 days was $4,000.
No, it was not. But subsequent to me accepting this job, I turned down numerous other jobs because I was going to be at this job
You
for
have-
anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
You have proof of that?
Not on hand, Your Honor.
Well, that's your defense. That's your defense to this action. So you should have proof. Now you're telling me she just came home one day and said, I don't want you to work on this project anymore.
That's correct, actually, Your Honor. A few days before that, she had told me that she loved me and wanted to be with me. We went to her house that evening. My brother and I spoke with her on doing this work. She had a large list, pulling out bushes, skylights, numerous work around her house that she had just purchased. We told her, well, okay, we can start in a couple of days. We came by on the Monday of the first part of the week. When we showed up, we asked her to open the garage door so we could unload
So you didn't have
materials.
another job right then?
No. I
You're-
told her I could
Just-
be there on
just-
Monday.
Just a second. So you were free immediately?
No, I
My
told her I could
statement
help
was
her
you were
out.
free immediately. She spoke to you the week before. You were able to start that Monday. So you were free. You didn't have any other commitments.
At present, I did not at hand. She had asked me first. I had other jobs that I went to. That's the main reason why.
No. My question was, and your response is, you had no other commitments that prevented you from starting her job immediately.
No, I did not.
Okay.
My father had just passed away, so therefore I was still grieving from his death. I had been taking care of him for the first part of that year as well.
Mr. Johnson, pay attention to me. This is about money. This is not about
I
your
have a bill
father's
here as well
unfortunate
that I normally
demise.
write up for customers
Okay?
that I work
Now,
for.
don't you understand when my mouth is moving? There is only one voice that I hear?
To apologize, Your Honor.
Good. Now, if you felt that she owed you money in July of 2000, why didn't you sue her?
I had spoken to my attorney on putting a lien on her house, and work picked up at that time, so I just filed the bill away that I had written up for the initial work that we had started.
Then I'd like to see the bill that you say you filled out then in July of 2000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
For the work that you started.
I do believe there's a legal term for this called quantum merit, Your Honor.
You didn't do $4,000 worth of work in 3 days. I know what the legal terms are. Quantum merit means that you are paid for the work that you do.
That's correct.
This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days.
She gave me a check for $500, that is it.
Pay attention. This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days. That's not what your answer is. Your answer is that you gave up other jobs because you had a job that you thought was going to last several weeks. That's your
correct.
defense.
That's correct.
So what are you showing me this bill for? For $4,000?
That's the work that we started doing. Halfway through that, she decided to tell us, and I'll finish the job myself, because The first day we arrived on the job, she had a new boyfriend there.
Your Honor, the
Okay.
reason that I... Did you remove the countertop?
That's correct.
Did you install a new countertop?
That's correct.
One
Okay.
out of three.
What do you mean 1 out of 3?
There are 3 countertops. He installed one, gouged the second one, and left the other one standing
That's
in my
false,
garage.
Your
Just a
Honor.
second. Is it there?
I paid somebody else to correct the job.
That's false, Your Honor. There was one section left not put in, Your Honor, and that was the sink side, and that was the day that she asked us to leave. She would finish
Did
the
you tell
job
him to leave?
herself.
I fired him because he verbally assaulted me.
What did he say?
That was
He
false,
quoted
Your
me
Honor.
that the job would take 3 days, cost about $800. We're talking tile on the floor, kitchen countertops, and a kitchen sink.
The initial job that we had quoted, it was just the surface.
On the third day,
Not to
my
the
stove
countertop.
was still not put in its place. The countertops were, my kitchen was not functionable. He kept verbally assaulting me, making rude
that's
comments
false
to
again,
me.
Your Honor.
Please
I don't want to hear
interrupt
any
me.
interruptions.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Please don't interrupt.
That's a lie. That's a
It
pure
is not a lie.
Out. Him. Out. And the next time somebody speaks, I'm going to resolve this case. It's not going to be to their satisfaction.
She's a liar. That's a lie.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? There is not to be any discussion between the two of you, and you are to respond to my questions. That's the way I run a courtroom. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Murray says ex-boyfriend Rule Johnson owes for an unpaid loan.
Okay. You fired them.
Yes.
Did he leave a sink there?
No. I bought my own sink.
Okay.
That's false as well, Your Honor.
Show me the bill.
I don't have the receipts. I had given them to her at the time.
You're a contractor. Contractors have bills. Can I see it,
Checks.
please? Did you buy a sink set, faucet, and plumbing?
I did not. That was to install her old faucet and plumbing with
You
the
didn't
new
do that.
sink.
Just a second. You didn't do that.
No. That was when she called us.
Just answer my question. You didn't do that.
No.
And you didn't buy the sink.
Yes, I did, Your Honor. That's false.
And yet you have no proof that you bought a sink, right?
I've got my witness, which you asked to leave the courtroom.
Yeah, because he has a big mouth. He doesn't know where he is, and he's not coming back.
Well, when the plaintiff lies, I mean, it's only fair to stand up and say when somebody's a liar.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's how I resolve a case when you have a big mouth.
Fine.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, Your Honor.
You may step out.
She couldn't accept the fact that she couldn't have me.
He's obviously very full of himself.
She's been obsessive after my brother. She's stalked him.
Ladies, fair warning.
She's a crazy lady.
Pretty faces and money don't mix.
He, the phony, would not blame another hairdresser for what he did.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ackerman versus Peart. Step forward, please.
44-year-old accounts receivable clerk Ruth Ackerman and her daughter, 18-year-old Crystal, are suing Crystal's half-sister, 24-year-old office manager Melissa Peart, and her husband Tyson Peart. Crystal says Melissa won't return her furniture.
What's your first name?
Crystal?
Crystal, this is your sister.
Yes.
You're the mother.
Yes.
You're the husband.
Yes.
Hers. According to your complaint, there came a time that for some reason you moved into your sister's home with her husband. Had she been living with you before?
My daughter?
Yes. How old were you? when you went
I was
to-
17 at the time. Oh, sorry, 18 in November. I just turned 18.
Why did you go and live with your sister?
I was living at a drug home at the time with my friends, and she suggested that would be the best place for me to
What do you
be.
mean a drug home?
Friends using drugs
How long had you been living there?
for about a month and a half
Where'd you live before that?
with my mother.
Why did you move out of your mother's home?
Because I was a rebellious teen.
So your sister did a nice thing. She said, come and live with me.
Yes.
You lived there from November of 2000 until when?
To February. of
And then she
2000.
told you to leave.
Yes.
Why?
Well, we weren't getting along the end of the last month in February and January. Weren't getting along. She did kick me out about 5 different times.
Were you breaking the rules?
Yes.
This lawsuit says that when you left 2 things there. One was a chest and your bed.
Correct.
And you want those things back or their value. Your sister says she held on to them for about 6 months and then got rid of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go after you left your sister's house?
I moved in with a friend into an apartment.
Why didn't you take your chest and your bed?
We couldn't fit it in.
Did you tell your sister that?
Yes.
What did she say?
She didn't say anything. She
Did
was
she
very
let-
silent towards me.
You were angry with her?
I was, Your Honor. I gave her 7 days to move her stuff out.
And this chest and bed, were they in a room that you needed?
Yes, they were.
She doesn't have to keep your stuff forever.
A couple times I was trying to make arrangements with my friends to get a truck to go in there and get my stuff out. Unfortunately, I have no truck. I have a little car, can't fit a bed and cedar chest on top of it.
When did you sell it?
June.
Who did you sell it to?
I sold it to a coworker of my husband's and to a friend.
Okay, how much did you get for it?
Total together, I got 110.
Now, your daughter moved out in February. Did you call your other daughter in February or March and say, I'm going to come and pick up this bed?
No, we didn't.
Why not?
We actually did tell Crystal that she could store the stuff at our house. We kept telling her to go get the stuff.
And she didn't?
And she did not go get the stuff.
When you moved in with your sister, you lived there for November, December, January, 3 months. Did she support you?
Yes.
You weren't working?
No, I was looking for a job. I had a job when I was living there, and I did lose the job.
So your sister took care of you?
Yes.
So why would you want to sue her?
I just want my stuff back.
She doesn't have it.
Well, I want what she sold. That's my bed, my cedar chest. My cedar chest means a lot. I got it for my 16th birthday from my parents. I mean,
Well, she sold both things.
it's
So-
valuable stuff to me.
She doesn't have them. She kept them in her house for months. You couldn't get a truck. Your mother wasn't talking to her directly. She was talking to you. She could have stored the stuff but never made arrangements. And I assume that you and your other daughter are not getting along for some reason. Is that right?
In the last couple of months, yes.
Oh, that's
Prior to her moving out and that, no. We were fine.
Your Honor.
Yes.
And the reason why this pretty much whole thing started, because I found my biological father, and when my grandfather passed away in May, he was asked to be a pallbearer, not my stepdad. So now the family's mad at me because I found my real dad, and they're just vindictive towards me right now.
She found her father 5 years ago. And I knew that 5 years ago, and I accepted that as long as she kept it to herself. Her father signed legal rights for adoption. He wanted nothing to do with her. And within my books of my feelings, he had no rights to her at all. I did tell her, that's fine, but you keep it to your side, your family, that's fine that you've seen your father. I did not need it in my life. I didn't have to have it in my life. My father that passed on was my father. She was only a granddaughter. A funeral is for the people who are alive, not dead. And my father wanted a quiet family funeral, and he was not my family. He might have been my daughter's, but he was not my family. So due to that, yeah, we got a lot of hurt out of it.
It's time for it to be over.
It is. And because of all this, Crystal decided to go get her stuff. I kept telling her to get it. Crystal was sick the day she made arrangements to go get the bed. I went with my daughter, Tracy, to go get it, and she was not home that day. So within 2 days, she had sold the bed, apparently.
But meanwhile, she took care of your daughter. And if the bad feeling that exists now between you and your daughter has to do with her finding a biological parent and involving him in your father's funeral, which is, I assume, what you are hurt about, you have to understand something. When you make choices, you made a choice, you had a child, and so did her biological father at that time, and I assume you were both much younger, but children have a natural curiosity. Children very often have a need to know their biological parents. Even if her adoptive father was wonderful to her, there is sometimes that need. And maybe it was wrong for her to involve her biological father in your father's funeral. I don't disagree with that. But it's over. It doesn't mar something forever. It doesn't mar that.
Your Honor, it wasn't me involving him into the funeral. It was actually my grandfather's wishes. They were very best friends in the past, and within the last 5 years, he begged me to bring him around because my grandpa was on his deathbed. And I brought him around only under my grandpa and grandma's wishes, and it was my grandfather's wishes to have him there. It wasn't me. I had no idea.
Did you tell that to your mother?
I surely did.
I don't
Certainly
believe
did.
it. I'm next to my dad on his deathbed. I was about the last one to see him before he went into his coma.
Well, what about your mother? Did your mother tell you that that's what he wanted?
My mother didn't tell me until the day we was at the funeral home making the arrangements of who the pallbearers were. That's
but
when
did
she
your mother
told me.
tell you that that was your father's request?
She said, I don't believe her.
Then you don't believe your mother and you don't believe your daughter?
No.
Then you have a problem.
No, because in Christmas time...
No, then you have a problem.
My father said what Melissa was doing was wrong. So why would he found something different?
Maybe it's because that's what he thought you wanted to hear. Why would your mother, who I assume lived with your father for how many years?
30 years.
30 years. Why would your mother do something that she knew was exactly the opposite of what your father would want done at his funeral? In any event, she doesn't have the bed and chest anymore. She sold them. Did you tell your mother you sold them for $120?
I miscalculated. I apologize.
We have the bills of sale.
I have the
Can I
bill of
see
sale.
them, please?
I actually
And
sold.
the rental agreement that Crystal signed.
I have the bill of sale on both of them, and I actually sold them on the 11th of May and the 1st of June. I arranged for pickup on the 4th of June. After I gave Crystal, I talked to her, wanted to give her one last chance to make arrangements to come get it, but she didn't.
You have any problem giving your sister the $110 you got for her things?
I do.
Chris, Missy didn't sell the bed.
I want to explain something to you. This is a non-case. $110 is what she sold the stuff for. You're suing for $600, which is ridiculous. It costs more than $600 to feed you, take care of you, provide you with a home for 3 months, which your sister did, so I have no idea what you're doing here. However, I don't think it's fair that you keep the money for her things, so I'm going to give her the $110. That's it. Do you understand? Instead of saying thank you, you sue her. Ridiculous. Goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 49 on the calendar in the matter of Perez versus Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor, and may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Perez, it is your claim that the defendant's son broke a car window with a rock.
That is correct.
When did this happen?
This happened on December 17th, 2000.
Are you neighbors?
We live across the street from each other, yes.
And where was your car parked?
My car was parked right in front of my house by the parking lot of the Ramada where we live.
That is incorrect. I'm sorry. Sorry.
It was parked in the common area.
Is it on the street or in a parking lot?
In a parking lot.
Okay. Do you have a photograph so I can see where your car was parked?
I live right across from the parking lot.
In one of these houses?
No, I'm facing this way.
On the other side, I can't see your house, is that right?
Right.
All right. And who lives in these houses?
They live on the left side where the beige with the brown trimming is at.
In the carport.
Is this your house? Can you see?
No, we're on the other side of the Ramada.
You're on this
Correct,
side?
Right there.
You're here. Okay. You weren't there when this happened?
We were home.
But
we were
you
inside
did
the
not
house.
see what happened?
Exactly, we did not see.
Okay. Who saw what happened?
The two witnesses here, Carlitos and Antonio.
Are they neighbors of yours?
They live around the neighborhood, yes.
Okay. Let's start with the older young man first. Come up here. Tell me your name.
Antonio Vasquez.
Antonio, you're a neighbor?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Yes,
Are you nervous?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. But you're going to tell me the truth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
What can I do to you if you don't tell me the truth? You don't know? Nothing good. You got me? Okay. Tell me what you saw with regard to this rock throwing incident.
Well, what I saw is that.
Look at me.
What I saw is that Mario threw a big rock.
Who's Mario?
The one that's sitting down right there.
Uh-huh.
He threw a rock to the Ramada in front of my house, hit the roof. That's where it bounced and almost hit my friend Carlitos in the head, and he ducked and hit the car window.
Was anybody else throwing rocks?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I thought. Who else was throwing rocks? Look at me.
Two friends of mine and my friend here.
So you were all throwing rocks?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were you throwing rocks at?
I was throwing rocks to Mario.
So you were throwing rocks at Mario, and Mario was throwing rocks at you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your brother?
No, he's my friend.
What's his name?
Carlitos.
Carlitos. Carlitos was also throwing rocks at Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have any other friends with you that were throwing rocks at Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was your other friend?
My other friend was Gilbert and Alex.
Gilbert and Alex. And who are they?
They're two friends that live by the neighborhood.
How old are they?
One is 7 years old and the other one's 6.
So there were 4 of you throwing rocks at Mario?
Yes, ma'am.
What was Mario doing when you were throwing rocks at him?
Mario was cleaning his front yard.
So why did you decide to throw rocks at him?
Well, first,
Now, I want you to tell me the truth. So far, you're doing really well. Okay? So far, you're doing really well. This is not a terrible thing. Not a smart idea to throw rocks because somebody could have gotten hurt, right? But we're not talking about capital murder here. We're talking about kids playing. So I want you to be sure to tell me the truth. You and 3 of your little friends started to throw rocks at Mario.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you started it.
No.
Who started to throw rocks at Mario?
Gilbert.
Gilbert. Any particular reason Gilbert started to throw rocks at Mario?
Well, he just flicked it at Mario.
He flicked it. Well, there's not much of a difference between flicking and throwing. So first he flicked it. Did Mario say something like cut it out, stop it?
No, ma'am.
Didn't say anything. Who threw another rock at Mario?
Well, first Gilbert flicked it at Mario, so Mario threw a whole bunch back at Gilbert, so his other friend Alex decided to help him.
Who's Alex?
His other friend of Gilbert.
But Mario was all alone, right?
Yeah.
And it was the 4 of you throwing rocks at him. How many times did you throw a rock at him?
I only threw once.
Only once?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you throw a rock at Mario?
I threw it because he threw a whole bunch at Alex because he was running towards us, and one just got out of the group and hit me on the arm and bruised me right here.
Oh, you started it, you and your friends. All he was doing was taking care of his front lawn.
Yeah, but we weren't with Gilbert and Alex. They were just around the street. We were just playing on the Ramada.
But you came over and you started to help them.
No, I threw it one at him because he hit me. So I'm trying to defend myself.
Sit down. They're little kids. Mario,
Yes.
how old are you?
I'm 15.
So they're stupid little kids, right?
Yes.
So what'd you throw the rocks back for?
We're unaggressively playing.
You were playing.
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Perez, did you get all this information from these boys when you talked to them?
No, it wasn't that way. You know, they came to our house, they told us we were playing at the Ramada. Gilbert and Alex were playing by their street. He was cleaning the yard. Gilbert had thrown a rock towards him. He threw a rock towards the other 2 little kids. Then Mario continued throwing rocks.
No, they were all throwing rocks at each other.
And then,
Mr. and Mrs. Perez, they were all throwing rocks at each other.
Exactly, they were all throwing rocks, and then Mario had threw they're decorative rocks, the real small rocks. Threw a whole bunch of them, hit Antonio on the arm. And then they threw back.
What makes you think if they started it, these 4 little boys, he's out there minding his own business, doing his work in this front lawn, 4 little kids come over and they start to throw rocks. First one, then another, then he takes small pebbles, they're little ones, and tosses them back at them, and they started doing it. Why would you think that he's only responsible for this instead of all these boys?
According to the witness, they was playing by themselves, these 2 kids, and the other kid was playing by themselves.
No. It's not how it happened. No. It's not how it happened.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renee and Leticia Perez say 15-year-old Mario Obregon broke their car window with a rock.
Listen to me. They started it. And what I'm asking you is, why do you think that only one boy is responsible, even though he's older and should have known better?
He threw the rock that hit the remote of the roof, striking my window to my car.
Okay,
with
fine.
this
Now
rock.
I understand. Because he threw the rock that you believe
And
ultimately
we
hit
went
the
and
car.
talked to him. We went to his house. We talked to him. We asked him, did you break the window of my car? He says, I might have.
He might have.
Okay. And then I'll pay for it, but just don't tell
Mrs. Perez, you ain't getting it. I believe that 5 kids are responsible for breaking your window, not just one. They shouldn't have been throwing rocks at each other, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you might have. One of the rocks that you threw might have broken their window, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But he's not solely responsible. Let me see the estimate on the damage to your car. What kind of car was it?
It's a 1991 Geostorm.
Your Honor, I also got something that states a price on that same window.
Let me take a look. Windshield repair. Okay.
And it had tags and registration at the time. Tags are expired. They expired on February of this month.
Listen to me, sir. This is not an estimate.
I understand that.
This is a card.
Correct. And the reason I gave that is because the young lady I spoke to on the 21st said that we can call her and
I'm not
verify.
calling her. All she has to do is give you an estimate, like
Okay.
this.
Thank you. Okay.
It's like this, an estimate. And it costs about $1,000 to fix it, right?
The windshield, yes.
There were 5 boys involved, correct?
That's correct.
That means he's responsible for $200. You got to get the rest from the other boys. You understand? 5 children involved in throwing rocks, not just one. He didn't even start it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all.
Parties are excused. They step out.
He is much older. He had no business throwing rocks back at them.
Mario threw a lot of rocks and hit him in the arm and bruised him.
I agree that I shouldn't have been throwing rocks,
He was throwing rocks towards my car.
but I did not break the window.
I've learned when everybody starts throwing rocks, I just walk away.
Instructor, she made a big scene about it. Basically, just go to a regular salon.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hart versus Hart. Step forward, please.
63-year-old salesperson Carol Hart is suing her granddaughter, 23-year-old Krista Hart, for a down payment on a condo, a loan for bail, and the cost to repossess a vehicle.
Mrs. Hart, the defendant is your granddaughter.
Yes.
And your claim has several pieces to it.
That's right.
One involves a car that you purchased for your granddaughter. She was supposed to make all the payments, pay the insurance. She didn't do that. You repossessed the car. You want the cost of the repossession of the car. That's the first part of the case. Then you say that you gave both your granddaughter and your grandson, her brother, the down payment for a condo. And the idea was that they were supposed to act appropriately, responsibly with the condo so that they could use that condo at some point to sell, and each of them could have their own place, but they would have a little bit of money because you have a child.
That's correct.
After they moved in, you made a gift to them of the money.
That's true.
Then you say you took that back because your grandson got a girl pregnant and they didn't do what you had intended to do with this condo, so you want the down payment back. The third thing is her brother was in jail. She called you and said, I need $500 to bail him out of jail. You made her a loan of the $500.
$300.
Okay, $300 for bail for your grandson.
Right.
And he got out of jail, and she says, get it from him. So it's those 3 things, the car, the condo loan, and the bail money. How much are you seeking from her for the amount that you had to spend to repossess the car?
$77 is all.
Well, that's nonsense, and that happened almost a year ago, right?
Well, just a year ago, yeah.
Okay, well, that's $77.
I gave her
is
plenty
nonsense.
of time to pay it back. I just put in her
Forget
gas
it.
tank.
All right, let's forget the car from a year ago, $77. All right, Miss Hart, let's get to the condo. How much did you loan her for the condo?
Each of them $3,000, total of $6,000.
Okay, so she put $3,000 in on the condo.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in 98. That would be September of 98.
And at what point, Mrs. Hart, did you say to them, now the condo is yours, it's a gift?
They moved in on Halloween, and that was at Christmas that we said that.
So you don't have to pay us back the money?
Right.
Okay. Christmas of 98, you forgave the loan.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, then, but there was the understanding that they would use that either, as you said, for each of them to go their separate ways and for a house or to go for a bigger one together. Then her brother, after that, got somebody pregnant, and he wound up moving her and her child and the new baby into the condo, which was too small. There was 6 people, counting Krista and her son. I'm sure it was difficult. The girl doesn't speak English. It was a small, cramped place, and I'm sure it was really hard. But I think it was in January that Krista just blew it one night, and she called me all night long, waking me up, throwing them out, having a fit. Now, she got very mad at me for not coming over there and doing something.
I haven't heard anything about this loan that was forgiven in Christmas time.
Well, it was still owed. They were still in the condo, all of them.
Of course, I understand that.
But then this was in January, she threw them out.
Who threw who out?
She tried to throw him out, and she just left the next day.
Okay, so who's living in the place now?
Nobody. They sold it. That's the point.
Okay. So they
And
sold
the money was not used for the purpose intended.
Just a
Neither
second.
of them worked
Yeah,
for a while.
Just a second. How much did you get from the sale of the condo?
Round figure, my portion would have been somewhere close to $4,000, I want to say.
Did you get that money?
Yes, I did, but
Good.
I should also mention that it wasn't sold. The sale was not final until April. The 4 previous months, from January when I moved out until April, my brother, I told him since I was not there, would be responsible for the mortgage payment, which he told me he was.
And he didn't pay?
He did not. So I used my portion of the money that we got from the sale to pay off the mortgage, the telephone bill, which was in my name, the gas bill. He hadn't paid any bills.
The stuff that was in your name, but your brother
Everything.
had to pay. Your brother had to pay part of it out of his portion of the sale as well.
He
From the mortgage. I'm just talking the mortgage, not the bills.
Yeah, the mortgage, yes.
Yes, of course, because they took that right off the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course they did. You didn't say, well, let her pay, and the bank said, okay. They
No,
took
no.
that right off the top. So
Yes, they
how much did you clear after both you and your brother paid off the mortgage?
Oh, I don't know, probably close to, $2,500, $3,000. I can't remember the exact
And what did you do with the money?
That was the telephone bill, the electric bill, the gas bill, the association due. Oh, no, that was paid through the close of escrow also. My brother's car payment, he was delinquent on his car payment. He couldn't get to work.
Come on, Miss Hart. I mean, I'm not stupid. If your brother's not paying any of those bills, then why in the world would you pay his car payment if he's getting $3,000?
Well, because he blew his money on God knows what.
No, you didn't. You didn't pay his car payment. I don't believe that you're that stupid. I really don't. That doesn't mean that your grandmother's entitled to her money back. You can't make a gift back into a loan. You cannot say, now I want the money back because it was not used for what I intended it to be used for. Now I want it back. You cannot do that, Miss Hart. Now let's get to the bail. Did you agree to give your grandmother back money for the bail?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So why didn't you give it back to her?
My brother had told me that he had taken care of it.
Your brother is a liar. I mean, if I believe you, then your brother is a low-life, pun scum liar.
He was for a while. Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes.
Your grandmother tells you that she has not received the bail money back.
Oh, I didn't find out about that until she mailed me a letter, I want to say like maybe a month later, because he had told me that everything was cleared, and we weren't exactly on speaking terms at the time, so I was not aware of the fact that it was not paid back until
But
about a
now
month
you
later.
know. Mrs. Hart, your granddaughter owes you $300 that she borrowed in order to get her low-life brother out of jail. If half of what you tell me is true, either you're the best sister in the world, the dumbest, or the biggest liar. I'm not sure which one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. Excuse me.
Yes, this is case number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Hilson versus Randall. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Hilson, according to the complaints that I have read, you and the defendant were very good friends, and then you had an argument. And it is your claim that after the argument, she vandalized your car by keying and scratching your car. When did this argument take place?
It started Sunday early evening around 6.
Sunday, what date?
I'm sorry, July 22nd.
What was the argument about?
The argument was about a little boy, Micah, who is here. The defendant's daughter called me and asked me if I would babysit her mother's ex-boyfriend's son.
Which is this little boy?
Yes.
Shh.
And it was no problem. I said yes. When I woke up, the little boy was at my house. No one said, okay, we're here, the little boy is here, we're leaving. I woke up, he was at my house.
You have children?
I have, yes, 2 sons.
How old are
Joshua,
they?
4 years old, and Malik, 11 years old.
Okay, let me hear, what was the argument about?
Okay, so he stayed at my house and spent the night. No one came to pick him up. No one called to say, we're back, you can bring him. The following day, I was giving them a bath, and Micah had all of these like scratches. It looked like flea bites. I just took it for granted that it was flea bites because the defendant had 11 cats and it had an infestation of fleas in her home, and she was recently evicted for that.
So you assumed it was flea bites?
I assumed it was flea bites. So when he began to scratch and the bumps came and he scratched till one area started bleeding. So I sat him down. I said, wait a minute, this isn't flea bites. This is something else. So I sat him down. I said, Micah, do you have chicken pox? He says, yes. did your mother know you had it? He said, yes. I said, did Rhea, who's the defendant, did she know? Did her and Kendra know you had it? He says, yes, they put ointment on me. When he said that, I couldn't believe it. First of all, I was shocked. I was afraid for my children. He had slept in the same bed with my 4-year-old. I called Kaiser Hospital to see what could I do. Could I bring them in? Is there anything they can give me? They said, no, just clean your house. Clean your house, wipe everything down. So I tried to call them to say, come and get him now. Why did you do this? I was really upset. I really don't remember everything that I said, but I was upset.
Did you contact the defendant? Did you make contact with her?
No, I kept getting the recording. So after I...
Take a look. You called in the police report at about 8 o'clock in the morning, that next morning, I see. Is that right? Okay. The police report confirms the scratches all over the car, the entire car, and you have an estimate for the car.
I have an estimate,
Can I
also
see it,
a
please?
statement from the Earl Scheib. It's on the second page. And also, Your Honor, I would just like to let the court know that a couple of weeks ago, before this court date, she called my job. And she said to me that, I'm going to be honest with you, my intent was just to flatten your tires. So her intent was just to flatten my tires.
All right. Ms. Randall, let me hear your version of the events, please.
Okay, Your Honor, the version that I'd like to give you of the events is the truth. I raised my right hand. There was no Bible. I wish there had been. Maybe Beverly would have been more forthcoming had there been. Almost all of what she said was not true. The first statement that came out of her mouth was the defendant's ex-boyfriend. His father is a friend of mine who is a comedian, and I am his godmother, and he stays with me regularly. Fine. On the night in question, that Saturday night, his father was opening at a new venue in the Valley. So I asked Beverly, through my daughter, if she could keep Micah so that I could go there. Would she mind keeping Micah? She said, fine. I called her a couple of times on my cell phone because the show was going longer than it had been expected. And I called her about 11 o'clock, and I said, Beverly, it's late, I'm in the Valley. I said, but I'll be there. She said, that's okay, just leave him here. It's too late to pick him up.
Okay.
So I didn't pick him up. The following morning, I went to church. She didn't go. Yes, there was a question. My eviction has nothing to do with this case.
My question to you is, so far what she says is absolutely accurate. You or your daughter asked her to babysit for Micah, whether she told you the boy could stay because it was too late or not is really not relevant. The boy stayed until the next day,
right,
and she was giving the boys a bath. Now, my question to you is, she says that Micah had chickenpox either recently or at that moment, but he certainly had marks from the chickenpox, and she says that when she called you, you did indicate to her that you knew you knew or had been told at some point that he had chickenpox. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
Your Honor, what happened was, it was after we came from church, so that was around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. She came to bring him home, and she said, look at these marks on him. And I said, they look like flea bites. And so she said, I said, just give him here. She says, no, that's okay. I'll take him with me because I'm going home and I'm going to fix this dinner, and he'll have dinner, and then you come pick him up.
So far, that was very nice of her.
Right.
So far, there's no problem.
So far, there's no problem.
Right. Go ahead.
Okay, so I get a call on my cell phone. At the time, I happened to be at Micah's mother's house getting my hair braided. And so she's ranting and raving on the phone about Micah having chicken pox. And I said, what are you talking about? Micah, you know that those are flea bites. She failed to mention the fact that she had a cat that she got from me. She had been complaining. The cat got killed because she allowed her son to throw it over the fence. Wait a minute.
Listen to me. Miss Randall.
No, Judge Judy, I'm trying to tell you that she has the fleas in her house.
Listen to
That's
me.
when she got raving mad.
Listen to me. Doesn't make sense. Because if she came to see you, as you said, after church, and wasn't concerned at all, something happened between after church at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock at night when she called you. And what happened was that she had a conversation with Micah, and Micah told her that he had chickenpox. Now, he may have been wrong, but something happened. She did not become psychotic between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock at night, Miss Randall, because she was doing you a favor. She said, bring him over.
week after that note was written.
Okay, so this writing is meaningless. You were fighting at the time. I want to know what your arrangement was from the time he moved in until May of 2001, because that's when he moved out.
Right.
Did he contribute any money to the house?
No, he did not.
According to you, Mr. Huth, you gave her your paychecks.
Every paycheck that I made from the time that I started living with Sue, and to make sure the record is clear, I only lived with Sue for 5 months before we got into our first argument, which you would say, where we had our first breaking up. I moved out on November 29th of 2000. All right, that was my birthday. There was an incident that happened that
All right,
night.
we'll get to that incident because that has to do with car damage that she's claiming.
Okay,
Okay, let's get to the fact that you say you turned over all your paychecks to her during the 5 months that you actually lived together. Is that accurate, Miss Laurent?
It was, but then he also took all the money back out of my account.
Well, how did he take the money back out of your account?
He had my check card, and that was how he deposited his check, but then he also, in turn, took out all the cash.
Well, if he's putting his entire paycheck into the bank, just pay careful attention. He's putting what he earns into the bank. So he has to clearly take out some money for himself to live on, to go to work, to do whatever he has to do, to buy clothes, etc. Now, if you're telling me that he's using your checking account as merely a way of getting his own money back and he wasn't contributing anything to the house, that's a different story, because that would be sort of like using your bank as a check cashing service. But if the two of you are using your checking account and you can't manage your bills, and that's what you were fighting about, you can't come to court later. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, do you have any such record from the bank indicating that he was using your checking account as just check cashing?
Not with me.
Well, this is the place to have it. So that deals with the issue of rent. Now let's get to this car issue. You say in October of 2000 he purposely damaged your car.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
We were in a fight over the phone bill because the phone was shut off because the phone bill was not paid. And I was going over to my girlfriend's house to get away from him because we were arguing. He jumped on the hood of my car, and as I drove by trying to get him off of my car, he jumped off and smashed the mirror.
Now, what's your version of that event?
Well, ma'am, it isn't in October because it happened on my birthday. I came home late from work that evening. I had planned to do something with Sue. Prior to that night, though, she had told me that her and her daughter were going to go over to a friend's house and spend the evening.
You had been fighting, I assume, over money.
Actually, no, the fighting was not actually about money. What I was more angry about was she burned my birthday dinner, she burned my birthday cake.
I mean, she burned it on purpose.
Well, she was so busy, what I think, and I'm not sure, but I think she was so into the fact that she was getting ready for her evening that she forgot about it.
So she burned your birthday dinner.
Right. I came home, and she told me that she was just going over to a friend's house the night before to have some drinks, which turned into, I'm going to a wine tasting party. This is my birthday, November 29th.
Should have been, just a minute, should have been a clue.
Should have been a clue, you're right. You're right, Your Honor.
So what happened?
Well, she was leaving. We actually got into a very big argument. My children were actually there. I then told Sue when she was going out to her vehicle that I needed my car seats because I knew that there was going to be an altercation when she got back from the store for making a
car
phone
seat
call.
for the children?
They were in the back of her Blazer. I then followed her in the garage. She got into her vehicle. She locked the door and turned the radio up so I couldn't speak. I walked around behind the vehicle. I stood there, and I did not move. I told her I was not getting out of the way till I had my car seats. She began to back over me. I moved out of the way. I followed her down the driveway, and then I stood in front of her vehicle, and I said, all I want are my children's seats so I can take them back to their mothers. That's it. You know what? That was the end. She would have stopped the vehicle, got out, and gave me them. It would have been over.
Okay.
All right? I then proceeded. She started to move. I jumped up on the hood, and I laid on it. Very wrong for me to do. Put myself in very much danger. She began to accelerate down the road with me on the hood of the car. Okay? I slid off the side on the driver's side. When I hit the ground, she gunned it. And you know what? I can't just say what exactly happened. I know that the mirror was damaged. It was ripped off the vehicle. I was hit here in the shoulder. She drove around the corner, got out of her vehicle, and yelled every obscenity that you can imagine at me because her mirror was busted.
Did you get the car seats back?
No, never did. She took off.
That is not true.
He seems pretty clear. He acknowledges the fact that he jumped on the hood of your car and that the mirror was broken. So,
the incident in question happened October 7th, which is a Saturday. And as far as his birthday dinner, it was not burned.
But my question to you about this car incident, was that this happened in either October or November of 2000, and he left, but then he came back.
Right. He did not leave until December.
Fine. Now, when he came back, did you talk about the car?
Yes. I asked him when he was going to repair it, and he got some glue and tried to glue it twice, and it didn't work. So I did ask him to repair it, and he did not.
When did you ask him to repair it?
Right after it happened.
You lived together in January, is that right?
Yes.
Did he fix the car in January?
No.
What about February? Did he fix the car?
No.
March?
No.
April?
No.
And then we go into May.
Right.
Miss Larome, not everything is a lawsuit, madam. He describes an incident where you took off in a huff and you had his children's car seats in the car. Did that ever happen?
Yes, that happened. But after he knocked the mirror off my car, I took the car seats out and threw them in the yard. So he did get them back.
Well, why didn't you give them back before?
I didn't realize they were in the back seat of my car. That doesn't make it right for him to jump on the hood of my car and break my car mirror.
Absolutely not. You were driving off with his property. And you knew you had his property in the car.
I
You were
did
very
not
angry.
know.
You were very angry. People do things when they get angry. And if you had said, well, I may have been angry, but you had no right to put yourself on the hood of my car, even though I was taking off the property that belongs to you.
Right. I was only going up to the store to use the
Who
phone.
knows? Who cares? He wanted the children's car seats.
Right.
You'd had a fight in front of the children. He wanted to take the children home. It's all a fight. Not everything involves a lawsuit. You behaved badly. He behaved badly. And when you took the car seats out and threw them on the lawn, that also was not the right thing to do.
You're
Right?
You're right.
Okay. So take care of it like grown-ups. Now let's get to the backyard. You say that you had a major argument in May of this year and that he destroyed the backyard. His defense is that he built the backyard so he could destroy the backyard. Is that your defense? So let's hear about the backyard.
As part of a present to me, he built brick planters in my backyard around the deck. I have photos if you'd like to see. And because of the argument that we had that day in June, he destroyed all of it.
I did that, Your Honor. I did.
All right. Did you, in fact, build this brick planter box for
You
her?
betcha.
Or you were in the process of building it? It doesn't look like it's completed.
It wasn't complete yet, but almost.
As a gift?
Your Honor, yeah, it was a gift. It was also the part of like the deck that I built. It was all something to work out for flowers and stuff.
Okay.
A lot of the other stuff that I do have a list of things in the course of the time that we were together that I did build in this house.
Can I see it, please?
And around the yard. And I never asked for one penny for any of this when I left. And this is my own hard-earned work, myself, my labor of bringing these materials home from work for this lady. And it was because I enjoyed her and loved her very much. And that's why I did that.
Let me ask you a question. Did he build a playhouse in a shed?
I have a photo of that too, and it is not a playhouse or a shed. It is a big monster that is in my yard.
Did you tell him to take it out? Did you tell him to stop building it when he was building it?
No, he just quit building it. So I have that in my yard.
Okay. Did he build a doghouse?
He put a roof over the top of the doghouse.
He said he built a
dog.
doghouse and then he put a roof on the dog kennel.
Right, for his dog.
Did he build a deck?
Yes, that's in
That's the whole
picture.
back deck?
Right.
Didn't break the deck?
No.
What about a brick fire pit? Did he build that?
Yes.
I see that you did work around the house and you were building things around the house and you do have a deck, correct?
Yes.
You had no right out of anger, sir.
I know.
To smash the work that you did.
You're right, I did.
And so what this involves is cleaning this up.
Right.
How much do you estimate it's going to cost to clean up the bricks?
I talked to his former employer, and he said to clean it up and replace it would be $3,000.
No way. He made a mess. He got angry and he made a mess, and he should pay for that.
Your Honor.
Yes.
While I was wrecking it, the officer came into the yard. He asked me what I was doing, and I said I was wrecking something that I spent a lot of good time building for this lady. And you know what? Out of anger, yes, I destroyed it because I was very hurt with the way how things were going.
Well, is it still this
All right.
way?
I told
Yes,
the
it
officer I will come back at any time to clean this mess up. I said, but she is not going to have this in her yard. He said, okay, you come back. She made it very clear that she did not want me to come back and clean
Because
it
she
up.
was angry that you were angry and that you,
Yes, I
you lost your
understand that.
temper, and she doesn't want to deal with that anymore. But at most, if you get somebody to come in, it'll cost you $50 to have somebody
Yeah,
come in
you-
and take all this brick away. They may even do it for nothing, just for the bricks, if you let them take the bricks away. Anything else? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $50. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes, case number.
And now the next case.
All parties on Moeller versus Stevens. Step forward, please.
Commercial pilot Doug Moeller is suing his neighbors, Roger and Jackie Stevens, and their son, 17-year-old Brian. Doug says Brian purposefully damaged his daughter's bicycle. The Stevens are countersuing for the cost of a bike and damage to their screen door.
Mr. Moeller, it is your claim that the defendant's son damaged your daughter's bike.
That's correct.
The defendant says that he caused no damage to the bike, and they are counterclaiming because they say that their daughter's bike was stolen from your backyard and it's your fault. B, that your son tore a hole in their screen door. You weren't there during this bike incident?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
I'd like you to sit down.
Okay.
And your children up here. Now, you weren't present either, is that right?
Correct.
So you can sit down, leaving the alleged perpetrator standing. When did this happen?
Around midsummer last year.
Tell me about the day.
We went over to see my cousin that we always play with.
You have to speak up because I can't hear you. Tell me your first name.
Timothy Moeller.
All right, Timothy, keep your voice up. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yeah.
Try to do it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, go ahead.
Brian started jumping up and down on the bike.
That's Brian.
Yeah.
What were you doing on the bike?
I was sitting on it. I've never seen a bike like that before, so I was testing out the shocks.
Testing out the shocks.
Right.
And how, Brian, were you testing out the shocks?
I bounced up and down on the seat a couple times and lifted the front tire off the ground about 2 inches and then let it go.
It was a girl's bike, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
It was a boy's bike.
Yeah.
Big or little?
It was big. It was a 20-inch.
Your Honor, could I give you a photograph of the bicycle as
Yes,
evidence?
I'd like to see it.
This is a photograph of the bicycle with a bicycle license, and it shows that these are actually children's bicycles. Quite a bit smaller than an adult would be riding.
Mm-hmm. Small?
I didn't think it was.
Small?
Okay.
Okay. Who told you could get on the bike?
Nobody.
Can I see the wheel, please? How old are you?
17.
So
I was
get a
16
job
at
and
the
pay for the wheel. Wheel's all bent. Wheel's all bent. Would you step up, sir? Okay. We'll make very quick work of this part of the case. Your son got on a bike without permission, tested out the springs, didn't ride it the way it was supposed to be ridden, and they say as a result of that the wheel was broken. So?
Well, according to my witness, my daughter and my son, when he got off, it was still on the kickstand. She got back on it. She rode home on it. We felt that if he had done it, she would have went home. If she'd have done it right then, she'd have went home and told her father, hey, Brian just damaged my bike. But the story that we got is that the next day or so, he noticed the damage, came to the children and said, what happened to your bike? We're not sure. We think maybe when Brian was on it, you know, and so we just don't feel that he did it. It may have happened later.
Well, what you feel is irrelevant.
Okay.
Relevant facts are he got on a bike without permission. He was testing the shocks.
Okay.
He's a big boy. He jumped up and down. I mean, at least he's telling the truth. Now, when you went to ride the bike home, did you see anything different in riding the bike?
The bicycle wheel was rubbing up against the side of the bike.
And did you feel that before he had gotten on the bike to test it?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, so now I need the bill. I mean, it's not malicious, it's not terrible, but you pay the bill. $106, is that what it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now, let's get, what?
Your Honor, could I speak for just a second, please?
Sure.
What we've heard here is in a large part a fabrication. In fact, I'd like to call Michelle Stevens as a witness, if I could, please, Brian.
Second, sir, you just won your case. Why do you have to call
Well,
anything?
I know, but there's a little bit more than $106 involved here.
What?
It cost me $27 to file this in small claims court in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And there was more damage to it than just the wheel. The handlebar extensions were damaged, the pedals were damaged, the bicycle seat was torn up.
I asked for the bill to fix
Yeah,
it.
you got the bill.
You
That's
got
correct.
the bill,
Yes, ma'am.
$106.40.
That's correct.
That's the bill that you gave me.
That's correct.
So?
Well, I guess that's the end of the story then.
That's the end of the story.
All right.
You just
Okay.
won. Sit.
Very good.
This is not a major toxic waste pollution case.
I
This is
understand.
a bent bicycle wheel. All right, let me get to the bottom line of your case, which I've read. Let me see if I understand it. Your daughter was playing over at their house. The plaintiff wanted to go someplace, And according to you, he said to the kids, why don't you just put the bikes in the backyard? The daughter put her bike in their backyard. The bike was stolen. And based on that, you believe it's his fault.
His responsibility.
No, that's wrong. How old is your daughter?
13.
So she had the capacity to say, I'm going to go put my bike in my garage?
Which she did. And he said, no, just put it in our backyard. We won't be gone very long. And both of the girls' bicycles got stolen.
You want to go further and tell me about this torn screen?
This is just
when did that
what
happen?
I get from the kids. This was last summer.
Did you tear the screen in Mr. Stevens' house?
No, ma'am.
You have a witness with regard to the torn screen?
Yes.
I'll hear you, Brian.
I was inside the house, and these two kids and my sister were inside, and I was trying to watch TV, and they were being loud, so they went outside. I locked the door, so they were locked out. I heard a noise at my window, and I opened the curtain, and Timothy was there with a stick poking a hole through it.
Did you poke a hole through the screen? Did you replace the screen?
No, but I have an estimate to have it replaced.
You went through a whole summer with a screen with a hole in it from a stick?
Yes, ma'am.
Get a patch. I can understand why you're aggravated, but it's unfortunate that people who had a rather pleasant relationship have any tension because of this. That's your fault. They're all a lot younger than you are. So the first thing that happened was you locked your sister and her two friends out of the house because you wanted to watch television in peace. Is that what happened with the screen? Stupid. Then you got on a bike, jumped up and down on the bike, not your bike, and bent the wheel. Also, stupid. As a result of that, two families, which had, I assume, gotten along reasonably well together if you let your daughter go with the plaintiff before, have any kind of friction now. Very, very stupid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $133. The counterclaims dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Levin versus Richter.
Thanks, Bert.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Levin, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant. You were there for a relatively short period of time. You claim you left as a result of her constant harassment, both sexual harassment and otherwise, and you are seeking a substantial amount of money for that harassment and the stress that she caused you, in addition to the return of your security deposit, which I believe was $200. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Ms. Richter says that you were the source of the irritation in the household, that you caused her a great deal of stress and aggravation, that you left your room in miserable condition when you left, and you also left owing some bills. So she is counterclaiming. Is that right, Ms. Richter?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Mr. Levin, how did you find this room in the defendant's home?
It was advertised in a local newspaper.
Did you have a job that time close by to where the defendant was living?
I've been disabled. I'm a physician, general practice. I've been disabled since 1995 due to what has turned into 7 neck operations.
Do you have a private house?
I have a mobile home.
So the room that you were renting was in a mobile home?
It's a mobile home park, and I have a small room in that home, yes.
How much was the monthly rent?
$400.
When did you move in?
It was July 20th, I believe.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes.
And when did you move out?
I moved out several times because I was hospitalized several times during the month and a half or so that I was there. But I moved my things out September 2nd and 3rd.
So far, are those dates correct?
No, none of them.
Okay, when did he move in?
He brought his things over 2 days before the 1st.
Of what?
Of July. And he moved in the day before the 1st of July. And he moved out on the 4th of September.
Okay. Did he pay July's rent?
He paid July's rent,
$400.
yes.
And he gave you a security deposit, is that correct?
He gave me,
$200.
He gave me $200 security deposit.
Okay. And did he pay August's rent?
He paid August rent and then canceled the checks.
Is that correct, sir?
The whole thing is...
Is that correct, sir?
No, it is not.
Did you pay for the month of August?
Yes, and I did. And I also paid $200 for food.
Don't tell me food.
Prior to
no
that.
food. Rent. Did you give her $400 in August?
Yes.
1st of August for rent. You have that canceled check. I assume you do.
I have the canceled checks.
I'll see it, please. Okay. Mr. Levin, what caused you to move out of the house?
Your Honor, I moved into the home initially because of my disability. I've had chronic pain, and I've also developed an illness called polyneuropathy, where my feet are like on fire all the time. and I needed help. The arrangement was Miss Richter would make food, make lunches for me daily.
Miss Richter, don't play with your papers. Listen carefully to what he's saying.
I'm listening.
And she would make dinner for me, and I paid extra $200 for that, and that was the understanding. At these meals, she would talk constantly, and it became evident to me that I was almost being used as a mate in this home.
As a mate?
As a mate. And I was being talked to as if I was her partner. And then what happened that made me move out was that she began to look at my body, and she looked at my legs at one point, and then she says, "You have really nice legs." I wear shorts all the time. And at that point, I was very disgusted. I'm not interested in a 72-year-old woman in that way. I'm a physician and a professional person. So I realized at that time I better not have meals with her. I didn't want to listen to her talk as if I was her mate. I didn't want her looking at my body.
What would she say, sir, that suggested to you she was talking as if you were her mate?
Well, I would have to listen to all of her history of where she lived and what all the people that she knew and where she worked and the different stores that she owned, and look at the pictures of her in her stores and get to know all about her. And then when I didn't know...
That doesn't sound like a mate. I don't even talk to my mate over meals.
Well, when I didn't...
You have a newspaper. What are newspapers for?
When I didn't know enough, I was told, you don't know anything about me. At any rate...
Have you ever been married, sir?
Yes, I have been.
How long were you married?
I was married for 14 years.
And you talked to your wife over dinner like that?
I talked to my wife and children at dinner.
Over dinner, like that? You know, a whole bunch of stories and pictures and history? No, you don't.
Well,
she was a friend. I mean, I don't understand
no,
why you...
there was more, because I was not interested in listening to her talk about herself constantly.
What did she think she should be talking about?
I didn't even want to talk. I wanted to have my food and...
In peace.
And peace, which is guaranteed as part of a... when you rent a room, you're guaranteed peace of mind. That's part of the rental agreement.
Dr. Levin, when you rent a room from someone in a mobile home, you're not in Graceland. It's sort of a confined space. So it would seem to me if she made you dinner, she would make herself dinner at the same time and sit down and eat with you.
But, Your Honor, that wasn't the plan. The plan...
That wasn't the plan in your mind. The plan in your mind was she would prepare meals, leave them, and leave you alone to eat. If that's what the sexual harassment part of your claim is.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. The harassment was when she started looking at my body in the kitchen and looking at my legs and saying, "You have kind of nice legs." And that was to me, very demeaning.
You have nice legs?
That's not for me to comment on. I'm sorry.
Well, if somebody told me I had nice legs, I wouldn't consider that sexual harassment, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Richard Levin says ex-roommate 72-year-old Margot Richter won't return his security deposit. Margot says Richard was impossible to live with.
All right, let's go. I don't think much of this harassment, sexual harassment. Let's move on to what you want. You want your security deposit back?
I was injured by this woman in a number of ways beyond wanting the security deposit.
So tell me the rest.
I opened up to her emotionally as if I was a confidant. I could talk to her. I thought she was a friend. I'd suffered from depression throughout my life and had a problem with my father. And she makes a statement to me after I stopped having meals there. She makes a statement, "Oh, I know why your father hated you. You're a horrible person." To me, that was really an upsetting comment. I was also told, "I hope you choke to death on that sandwich that you're eating." And I didn't exactly need that kind of comment either when I'm in chronic pain and having a lot of medical problems. I was given...
You really didn't have...
I would like to
Miss
finish.
Richter, don't speak to him.
There was a restraining order that I couldn't come within 10 feet of the woman, which meant I couldn't use the kitchen. So no longer could I have food made, or I couldn't even try to make it for myself. I had to eat out of the back of my pickup truck, out of a cooler, for 2 weeks. I was also assaulted physically by the woman.
Tell me how you were assaulted physically, because you mentioned that, but you don't really talk about it in your complaint.
I was trying to get some butter to put on some oatmeal from the refrigerator, and she has...
Was that before or after the restraining order?
This was before.
Go ahead.
I opened the refrigerator. She has a thing about not keeping the refrigerator open more than 2 seconds. This was maybe 3 seconds. I reach for the butter. She grabs my wrist, shoves me out of the way, and I'm unable to walk, and my feet are extremely painful.
What a lie.
And I do not feel that she has that right to shove me physically. I called the police, and deputy came to the house, and he asked me if I wanted her arrested. And I said, yes.
Was she arrested?
This is assault.
Was she arrested?
He did not arrest her.
Okay. Did you get your security deposit back?
I was told at the end, do not clean your room. I was feeling throughout this time that this woman was very jealous that I had a girlfriend. She comes and she pounds on the door when I'm on the phone with my girlfriend in the evening, screaming and pounding on the door. She got the phone number somehow of my girlfriend. This was a few weeks ago. She calls her up and spends 20 minutes telling her what a horrible person I am.
Why didn't your girlfriend hang up?
I don't know.
Why don't you ask her?
I did.
And what did she say?
She said that she doesn't do that to people.
Doesn't hang up on people?
Yes.
Where are you living now?
I'm living in La Jolla.
With whom?
I'm living by myself in an apartment.
By yourself? No more girlfriend?
I have a girlfriend.
She stay over?
She lives where she lives.
And so you just visit?
Yes.
Fine. You're getting along okay by
I'm
yourself?
doing my best, but I also feel I have been harmed by this woman, and I do feel that my suit is just.
Well, not every affront, Dr. Levin, is cause for a lawsuit. What you were complaining about was first some harassment by her because she was treating you as a mate, which is something you hadn't bargained for. But then later you said to me that you confided in her as a friend about certain things about your own life and your relationship with your father. So it's clear to me that this just wasn't a one-sided conversation where you were trying to blindly have your dinner and she was just yakking off at the mouth and you just wanted to be quiet. There was a conversation.
Which ended with the business about my body.
Stop saying your body, sir. Talk about the fact that she looked at your legs while you were in shorts and she said to you, you have nice legs. If, in fact, she said that at all. I mean, that's not something that would send a rational person into a tailspin.
Well, it was more than the statement. It was the feeling that went with it. You can tell when a person is doing that.
I don't think that she was prepared to attack you, Dr. Levin.
No, I wasn't worried about being attacked. It was
You
a
were worried
feeling
about what?
that she had other ideas than my just sitting there and eating meals, that I was to be something more than a renter.
Well, that's possible, sir. Maybe she felt as if you had developed a friendship over the course of the month or so that you were living there. You confiding in her about your intimate history, she confiding in you about her intimate history. Maybe she felt as if you were just shy and not prepared to make the first move. Now, she is, as you point out in your complaint, somewhat older than you are, but is your girlfriend somewhat younger than you are?
No.
The same age? Good for you. Like to hear that. Don't like to hear about these guys dating.
That's wrong, too. She's quite a bit younger.
No, she's a year older than I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, she probably looks pretty good then.
Yes, Your
She
Honor.
ever been married?
I don't know.
You don't know if your girlfriend's ever been married?
I don't choose to discuss it.
She's never been married. She has no children. Now I know why she looks terrific.
She has children.
All right. Let me get to your counterclaim.
The real damage was my being unable to eat when I couldn't use the kitchen. I couldn't be within 10 feet of this woman.
It's a lie.
I had to eat out of the back of my truck while
Dr.
ill.
Levin, is that as a result of a court order?
This was, yes, I couldn't be within 10 feet of her.
I cannot look beyond that, sir. I cannot look beyond the order of another court that says you cannot be within 10 feet or whatever of the defendant. That's something that a court determined that they were prepared to impose as a result of some fact, which I'm not prepared to get into now. Now, you didn't return his security deposit.
No, because it was used up.
Okay.
Because he canceled the checks, and then he gave me only one check for the rent back. And
I have a stop payment on this check, sir, that's made out to Margot Richter, dated the 3rd of August, for $433 for August's rent and July's utilities. Did you cancel a check that you sent to her?
Yeah, but I did. I paid it after that.
No, you didn't.
When I
Just a whole
decided
check.
to stay, I did pay it.
Can I see a copy of your check?
I don't have it.
Well,
I
then
haven't
the
felt
only
well
thing-
enough to find anything, Your Honor,
Dr.
when I
Levin,
try to get these
Dr.
papers.
Levin, this is, you have a whole bunch of papers there, and it would seem to me that you would know that I would ask you to make sure that there was rent paid each month that you were living there and utilities. And the only thing that I have is a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 3rd. And also a check that you stopped payment on, dated August 4th, that you indicated here were for lunches. Now, so you say the security deposit was used up.
Yes.
I agree with you, because he didn't pay the rent for August. So you don't have to return a security deposit. Now, what else are you suing him for? I want to hear about your stress.
Okay, he called the police twice on me. He called the fire department and said I gave him a heart attack. And
Honor,
he crushed he was never home on, during the day. He was always on the beach. That's what he told me anyway. And that Sunday, I have planned my barbecue for the longest. Once a year, I have a barbecue, and my friends come from far away. And he wanted to crash my party, so he stayed home and called the police on me.
Miss Richter.
Yeah.
Are you happy to be rid of him?
Oh, yes, I am.
So now you're rid of him.
Yeah, but I have been not the same, I tell you that. Well, I only had 4 hours sleep because I can't sleep. I'm on pills.
Why can't you sleep now? Now he's gone.
Because all of the flashbacks I have from him.
Stop the flashbacks. Listen to me. Did you ever rent a room in your trailer before?
Did you see the letters he wrote me? And
let me see the letters he wrote you.
Your Honor, when I came back from
I'm speaking. Did you ever rent a room before, Miss Richter, in your trailer?
No, never.
Are you ever going to do it again?
Never. No.
Okay, good. That sounds right to me.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Certainly.
I do not agree that I was causing all this trouble.
Yes, you have.
This is something
Listen, you didn't get along together. That was a problem. What else? Miss Richter.
He grabbed, I would like to tell you a story what happened when he called the police the first time. Like he said, he was holding the refrigerator open. He has been eating for 27 days my food out of the refrigerator. And I said, this is it. He grabbed the milk, not the butter. He grabbed the milk, and I said, put the milk back. And he stood there, and it was a hot day, and he just kept the refrigerator open. I said, please close the door. And I said it 2 or 3 times. He didn't close the door. I was standing next to him on the stove. He is my double-door refrigerator, and he had the door on this side.
I won't bother to tell you this is untrue.
And he came. I put my hand over him and closed the door. That's when he called the police and said I touched him. But
He's, just a minute, Miss Richter, listen to me. He's very sensitive. Miss Richter, did he use a phone? Do you have any bills?
I have a lot of bills. Yeah. I have a countersuit.
I understand what your countersuit is for bills that he owes you. Give me for instance, like what bills?
Oh, electricity.
Forget electricity. It was hardly there. Right, the phone bill.
I cleaned his carpet because I couldn't afford to call a carpet cleaner, you know.
I was told not to clean the room.
I told you not to clean the carpet because I don't want my carpet ruined. You ruined another carpet. You washed it in hot water and then all the backing came off and everything.
Did he use your phone?
Only
Did he
once. I don't even mention that.
Okay. So, sir, you used up your security deposit on the utilities and probably for some of the damage you did to the room because you acknowledged that the carpet was a mess. But you also didn't pay her August rent, and according to you, you lived there in the month of August. You didn't move out until September. I have no proof that you paid her.
I can't prove that I paid it, but I did pay the money, and she's lying.
It's $400 for August rent. Now, you moved out September what?
4th.
Did you pay for September?
I was forced to do other things in September, like go to court with another thing that she comes up with, that I had to go on the terrible day of September 11th, where I'm being accused of all kinds of things. Finally, we had to obviously abandon the courthouse that day and go the next day. And this finally, I don't know what she was involved with, something about some spilled coffee or something.
All right,
and I had to, this was dismissed.
$433 you canceled this check for, and that was for July's utilities and August rent. In addition, you gave her a check that you stopped payment on for $85.64 for lunches, so clearly you thought that you owed her that. $518.64. That's what he owes you, Miss Richter. Don't rent any more rooms to strangers. Your lawsuit's dismissed. Your counterclaim as indicated.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 393 on the calendar, the matter Levens versus Radigan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Levens, you rented a room in the defendant's home, and it is your claim that she falsely accused you at some point of assault, resulting in your arrest. You had to retain an attorney. All the charges were subsequently dismissed, and you want the defendant to pay for all of your out-of-pocket expenses as a result of that arrest, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it is the defendant's position that you did, in fact, assault her, and that your lawsuit is frivolous, correct?
Yes.
When did you begin your tenancy with the defendant?
December 1st of 1999.
And when did the altercation happen that resulted in your leaving?
February 17th of 2000.
So you lived there a very short time, 2 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were there any other tenants in the house?
Yes. As a matter of fact, during the month of December, she went through about 3 in the other room, and then there was one that had been there the whole time in the dining room, which had been converted into a bedroom.
So how many tenants in total? December, January, and February?
There were 3.
And what was your rent?
Well, she lowered it a couple of different times. Started off wanted $500, ended up $400, then she lowered it down to $350 because she wanted me to. She didn't want me to move out. I gave her notice, and she said it was hard to find good roommates, and she kind of desperate. It almost seemed.
I gather from the complaint that Ms. Radigan, you were putting new carpet in or having the carpets cleaned in the house. What day was that?
That was February the 17th.
Tell me what happened on the 17th of February.
I was about 7:30 a.m. I was sleeping. I worked nights, and I'd probably been asleep for a couple hours. She came, knocked on the door, said, we're going to have the rooms cleaned today. Could she come in and move stuff out from the middle of the room? I said, okay. And she started to do that, and she said, you got to get up. And I said, well, my room really doesn't need it. I was kind of waking up, and I said, my room's fine. She said, no, we're doing the whole house. And I said, well, my room doesn't need it. And I was still kind of sleepy. And I said, well, do my room last. I said, it doesn't really need it. And she left. And then she came, a little time later, came barging in again and said, you're out of here. She said, that's it. You have to move out today. John and the boys are coming. They're moving you out. And all your stuff's going to be in the street. And, and she grabbed my chair and started moving my stuff out.
Moving what stuff out?
The chair was what she was moving out.
She was taking the chair out.
Like to demonstrate she was going to take everything out, and by that day, all my stuff would be in the street, and I'm out of there.
That's not true.
Just a minute, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. What happened next?
I grabbed my cell phone, I went out to the driveway, and I called the police.
At any time, did you put your hands on the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
When she picked up your chair, did you put your hand on her to stop her?
No, she just kind of plowed right on out the front, out my bedroom door, out into the living room.
So you went outside and you called the police?
Yes.
Do you have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, the police ultimately arrived, is that right?
Yes.
When they arrived, what happened?
I told them that she was threatening to move my stuff out into the street, and that I was out of there today, and she's got some guys coming over, they're going to move me out, and I was afraid to leave, and that I'd paid rent, and I told them then, I said, I'm going to move at the end of the month, though.
So what happened?
Then they went inside and talked to her. A few minutes later, then they came out and asked me if I had touched her. I said, no. She said, well, she's claiming assault. And they went back in, talked to the roommate. The roommate said he didn't see any.
Which roommate?
There's one that was right down the hall from me, straight across.
Don't tell me what the roommate said unless the roommate's here.
Okay. They said there was no assault, nothing happened. They said, leave. Told her to leave me alone, said, leave each other alone. He's leaving at the end of the month, and they left.
What happened next?
2 days later, I got at work, deputy sheriff came and had a restraining order, said I couldn't go home.
Now we'll hear you.
Okay, on February the 15th, I let Jimmy Lee know that I was going to be having the carpets cleaned. And he said, that's fine. And I told him, you'd have to have everything off the floor so that they can just come in and do the carpet. So the day after that, I reminded him that night before he went to work, they are coming, so, have your stuff up. And the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, the carpet people were going to be there at 8:30. I went in there, I knocked on his door, and I told him, the carpet people will be here in 30 minutes. And he just started cursing at me, telling me that he wasn't getting up and that his carpet is not going to get cleaned. So then what happened is I asked him, I said, this door is still shut. I asked him, is it okay? Can I just come in and pick the stuff off the floor? He said, fine. So I went in, I got the chair, desk chair, rolled it out, into the hallway right there, already out of his room. He came back in back of me. I didn't even know he got up. He came back in the back of me. He pulled me around by my arm. He took me, violently shook me, and threw me onto the chair. And he proceeded to go ahead and do whatever, you know, hit me or whatever. And my other roommate, his room was right there, and I called out to him, and he came and had to remove him off of me.
Is that person here?
No, ma'am.
Then the police arrived, and you told the police your story. Is that right?
Yes, I called the police.
Well, so did he.
Mm-hmm.
The police arrived, and each of you were told to leave each other alone, and he advised police, who in turn advised you, that he would be moving out at the end of the month. Is that right?
No.
They didn't tell you that he would be moving out at the end of the month?
No, he did
Did he
not.
tell you that he would be moving out at the end of the month?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. But you certainly wanted him out of the house.
Exactly.
He assaulted her.
Several days later, you went back to the police. Is that right?
Right.
And you went to the police and said, I want to file assault charges against him.
Mm-hmm. I filed a report.
You said, I want to file, I've read the report.
Okay,
You said,
yeah.
I want to file assault charges against him. Is that right?
Yes.
And you told the police another version of what happened. You said that the first officer had taken an incomplete version.
Correct.
And you were very careful this time to go over all of the details precisely. Is that correct?
Yes, I was
to make
very
sure
distraught.
that this officer got all of the facts straight.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it was clear at that time, that several days later, that you wanted the plaintiff out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you make an attempt to go to housing court to have him evicted?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. You went to the police to get a restraining order to put him out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me tell you, Miss Radigan, the first officer that you spoke to reports no injury. Officer said that he spoke to a witness, this is in his police report, who did not see any physical interaction, but did hear arguing. You stated that the plaintiff grabbed her with both hands and pushed her out of the room.
No.
That, I'm telling you what the police officer stated in quotes that you told him. He grabbed you with both hands and pushed you out of his room. That's what you told.
Oh, I was very
You
distraught at
Hey,
the
listen,
time.
Miss Radigan. Distraught. Then, after a few days, when you realize that nothing's going to happen, you go back to the police and insist on filing another report of assault, the same assault that allegedly happened on the 17th. And let me tell you what you told the officer at that time. You say, grabbed her by both arms and pushed me down on the floor. Now, that was the time when you went to the police and you wanted to make very, very sure that you got it 100% right. Then you filed this case today, in which you swore in your deposition, he came up behind me, grabbed my arm, and turned me around and shook me really hard. Then, in the story that you tell me now, 2 seconds ago, you say, he came up from behind, he grabbed you, and he threw you down in a chair.
No, I said he shook me.
Yo, you just told me he shook you and he threw you down in a chair.
Exactly. I mean,
the question that I have to resolve, Miss Radigan, is whether you abused the process of the courts and the justice system in an attempt to see to it that he was evicted from your house very quickly, because you probably, if you rent rooms, know how hard it is to get out a tenant, since he had paid his February rent. Even if you try to get him evicted sometime in the middle of February, he's not going to get out for months if he doesn't want to go. You wanted him out. You insisted upon filing assault charges against him. You were not injured in any way, and you abused process. Now, let me see the certificate of disposition with this assault case. I know what you did, and you know what you did. How much did you actually pay this attorney, sir?
$5,000.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
All these are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a lie, every bit of it.
Sherry uses the judicial system to get her way.
The only way I could get him out was to get a protective order.
Sherry is a very controlling person, and when she doesn't get her way, she throws a fit in the one way that she knows, and claiming that she was hurt.
18-year-old student Monique Lacey is suing 21-year-old waiter Melvin Marshall for damage to her car resulting from a fight. Melvin says Monique's witness, Malcolm Johnson, started the fracas when he threw a bottle of Hennessy at him.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 466 on the calendar in the matter of Lacey versus Marshall. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Lacey, according to your complaint, you were at a bar or a club with some friends. Somebody by the name of Malcolm got into a confrontation with some other people, and you offered to give Malcolm a ride home.
Yes.
Got out into the parking lot, there was an altercation, and you say that the defendant is responsible for vandalism of your car that occurred during this altercation.
Yes.
Is this Malcolm?
Yes.
Perfect. Step up. What date did this happen?
September 29th of 2001.
And who did you go to the club with?
I went with Malcolm and also another student named Tom.
3 of you went in your car?
Yes.
And what happened with Malcolm in the club?
I did not witness anything that happened in the club.
What happened, Malcolm, in the club?
Nothing happened in the club. Everything happened as the club was letting out.
Well, what happened as the club was letting out?
Well, I was leaving. I had seen a female, whatever. She was attractive, so.
Stand up straight. And talk to me directly.
All right.
You saw a female that looked attractive.
Yeah, so I approached her or whatever, and I guess it must have been one of the defendant's friends, girlfriend or something.
What did you say to her?
Well, I just said, what's up, you know what I'm saying?
A Valentine.
Nah, I just said, what's up, you know, stop, talk to her, you know. And I guess that was her boyfriend. He just went through this whole episode of outrageous.
What did he say?
He didn't say really much. It was just like, ooh, he made some faces and like he was really mad or whatever, you know. So I had left it at that or whatever. We had went on to the car and.
Okay. What time had you arrived at the club that evening? Don't look at her. You tell me.
Around 11 or 12 or something.
And what time did you all leave?
I think the club let out probably 3 or 4.
They serve alcohol at this club?
They do.
And when you went out to the car, where were you seated in the car?
I was in the front passenger seat.
Now tell me what happened next.
There was a police block up ahead, so all the cars were basically at a halt.
It
was a police block. Like the police were searching the cars as they were leaving the area of the club. And I seen the defendant and some of his friends leaning against the car. The defendant...
Leaning against which car?
It was a gold car.
Not your car?
No, not my car.
Okay.
No, that's a lie.
I'll go get to you. Okay? Go ahead.
The defendant pointed at Malcolm, and after that, another guy came through my sunroof and began to hit and kick Malcolm. Was about 4 other guys, including the defendant, came through the passenger side window and was hitting and kicking Malcolm also.
How could 4 people come through the window?
They were through the 2 passenger side windows because there was also another guy in the back, and they were hitting on him too.
So somebody else came through the sunroof?
Yes.
Wasn't the defendant?
No, it wasn't the defendant.
Go ahead, let me hear.
I got out of the car frantically. I got back inside of the car, and I got ready to pull off, and the other student was pulled out the back window, and they began hitting him.
You mean the one in the back seat?
Yes. I drove forward, and police were about 500 feet ahead. We spoke with an officer. They went looking. They didn't find anybody, so they told us to go down to the police station and fill out a report. I have the report, and I also have pictures and an estimate.
Now, of all the people that were involved in coming over to your car, how many of them did you know by name?
I knew 2 by name.
Which 2?
Melvin and also another student named Marco.
What did Marco do?
He was the one that came through my sunroof.
What damage was done to the car?
It was about 7 dents. 3 on the passenger side, 3 on the roof of my car, and then 1 on the trunk.
Do you know what damage the defendant caused to your car?
Yes.
What damage?
There were dents on the side, on the passenger side where he was, and also there were dents on the trunk.
No, that's a lie. She keep telling such lies on me. I can't.
You have to, because it's not your turn.
Go ahead.
When it comes to your turn, you can speak. Okay? Malcolm!
Yes.
Did you throw a liquor bottle out the car window?
Yes, I did.
You know how I knew that? I looked in my crystal ball. What kind of liquor bottle did you throw out of the car window, Malcolm?
It was a fifth of Hennessy.
Is there any reason why you threw it out of the car window?
Yeah, because I believe it was this gentleman. They went, once him and his friends or whatever, they approached the car or whatever, they were telling me to get out or whatever. I wasn't getting out, and one of them swung, you know what I'm saying? And I hit the fifth, so I threw it out there, you know.
So you threw out the bottle of Hennessy, and they were actually standing right near the car?
No, I threw it out after one of the men had swung at me.
Well, you were sitting in the car.
Yeah.
So he must have been close enough to swing at you.
Yeah.
And in response, you threw the bottle out of the car?
Yes.
Hennessy at him.
All right, Mr. Marshall. Now, see, because patient people always get rewarded, Mr. Marshall, I want to hear your version of the events.
Okay, we were at the club one Saturday night. The defendant was hollering at my homeboys.
Now listen to me. I want you to speak slowly, speak clearly, so that I can understand you. And I want to tell you, I'm going to
See him inside of the
They were
club.
drinking
He didn't
Hennessy,
seem
you
like
know.
he was inside.
Well, he walked out with a bottle of Hennessy.
I was not drunk.
They were still drinking when the altercation happened, y'all.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Of course they were. That's why, what do you think he brought the bottle of Hennessy outside for?
Thank you, ma'am.
We had it before we went to the club. It was in the car, and we went into the club.
Oh, so you were drinking in the car?
No. The bottle was from we were at a previous person's house before we went to the club, and that was where the bottle was from.
Where had it been stashed while you were in the club?
In the car.
Where in the car?
In the...
It was in the trunk.
So I want to know how your friend Malcolm over here got the bottle in the front passenger seat.
He got it out as we were leaving.
You got a quick answer. That's not the way things go. If he was going to take the bottle of Hennessy, he would have gotten in the car. There was an altercation. You want to get in the car and get out as fast as you can. You don't go in the trunk of the car to get out a bottle. And
No, he had got it out before the altercation. As we were coming to the car, he got the bottle out then because he was taking it back with him to his room. It was his bottle.
Of course, but you do that when you get home. Not if you've just had words inside a club. That doesn't make sense to me.
It was outside the club, and it wasn't like we could just leave right then and there because there was so many cars and one way out. So I had got the bottle out, poured me a little something.
In the car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just said they wasn't drinking, y'all.
I know he did.
I ain't say I wasn't drinking. I ain't say I wasn't drinking.
I asked if you were drinking in the car.
I wasn't drinking yet.
You said you just took a sit out and poured yourself a little something.
Yeah. I poured some. I didn't even get a chance to drink none.
Well, what'd you pour it in?
Huh?
What'd you pour it in?
In cups. Cups that I had before when we left the house.
You took it out of the trunk, and in the trunk you also had some glasses for it.
Yeah, the same cup I had when we left our friend's house.
And so you were pouring it into the cup.
Yeah.
And before you got a chance to drink it, people assaulted you.
Yes.
So that the liquid that you had in the cup must have gotten all over the car.
I threw all that out when I threw the bottle, the cup. When they got to swinging, I threw it all out.
Before or after you put your feet out of the window?
When they came, approached, started swinging and stuff, I threw the bottle in the cup. They came back, and that's when I put it out, because I leaned to the side over, like, really. My face was over towards her side of the car, whatever, and that's when I was kicking out the window.
Mm-hmm. You remember all this clear as a bell?
Yes, I remember this.
Oh.
And he been drinking.
Okay, listen. Mr. Marshall, you'd been drinking too, sir.
But see,
You've been drinking too, sir, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? Okay. So, some of the damage that got done to the car was done perhaps by Mr. Marshall, but not all of it. He's not going to be responsible for all of it.
He in fact was the leader of the whole thing. No, he was the person who pointed at him inside of my car.
So what?
He caused the whole thing, basically.
I don't think
Since he pointed, he showed them where Mr. Johnson was.
So he has to be responsible for part of this damage, but you certainly know some of the other people, and you know the rest of them, right?
I know some of them, y'all.
Good, perfect. We know one of them's name is Marco, because that's somebody that you know who you can sue, right?
Yes.
That's one. And the person who was on the roof of the car, who was that?
I don't know. I was drinking, y'all.
This is going to get you off the hook, Mr. Marshall, for some money.
Names, one of them was Jason.
Jason what?
Huh?
Jason what?
Jason what?
Where do you know him from?
I know him from where I'm from.
You work with him? Do you know
No,
him
I
from
don't
school?
work with him. Just know him.
Just know him?
Just know him.
You know a Jason?
No.
Who else?
Another one was Sylvester. That was the one that he got into it with.
Oh, Sylvester, that's who we want to know. What's Sylvester's last name?
Excuse me, ma'am, he is lying because I spoke with the officer who was there on the point, and he gave me a couple of the other names. I don't know them, but the officer was a person that was from Tuskegee, and he knew a couple of their grandmothers. He knew their first and last names, and Jason wasn't mentioned. I have a police report with names on there.
Stay there.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I don't do much, but...
That's not true.
It was about 10 or 15 people, y'all.
You know somebody by the name of Jeter?
I know him, yeah.
Jeter have a last name?
That's his last name.
His last name is Jeter?
Yeah.
What about Tommy?
No, I don't know that.
Chris?
I don't know Chris.
Did the person who you got into the fight with in the club about the girlfriend, was he one of the people out of the car?
I didn't get into it with anyone in the club.
I don't mean fight, I mean an argument.
I'm
verbal.
saying I didn't get into it with anyone in the club.
Verbal altercation. On the way outside of the club.
Yes, he was out there.
What did he do?
He was swinging and, you know, swinging at me and everything.
He was swinging at you?
Yeah.
Where was he standing with relation to where he was standing?
From what I remember, they were on the side, like on the passenger side, right there.
Let me see the estimates for your car, please.
And I also have a lease for the car because the car is on a lease agreement.
The windshield glass was broken?
Yes.
Who broke the windshield glass?
That happened as I was pulling out.
Well, how did that happen?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
They were drunk, Your Honor.
Who was drunk?
Both of them.
Ma'am, I was the designated driver for the night, so I had no alcohol in my system.
I don't think she was drunk, sir, and you don't even know that, so why would you say that?
I saw her with a cup, Your Honor.
That doesn't mean she was drunk.
She was drinking.
It doesn't mean she was drunk. She didn't start up with you. All you guys were the ones who caused the trouble. That testosterone out there, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I tell you this, Mr. Marshall. We know one other person's name, and that's Marco. And if he was jumping up and down on the hood of the car, may have also scratched or cracked the windshields. That's a possibility.
What he told another person was that it was not his fault and I shouldn't have had, excuse my French, his in my car in the first place.
Well, then I think you have to sue him.
I'm pressing charges.
Good. Because Mr. Marshall here, I mean, he knows Sylvester, he knows Jason, so he's going to have to go after them for his half of this damage. And I'm going to give you half of what it's going to cost to fix your car. You go after Marco for the other half. And if Mr. Marshall wants to recoup any of his losses, he'll go after old Sylvester and Mr. Jason. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $681. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pettit versus Ryan. Step forward.
34-year-old daycare provider Cynthia Pettit is suing former client, 23-year-old mortgage consultant Lacey Ryan for unpaid child care fees. Lacey says Cynthia hit her 3-year-old son.
Ms. Pettit, you provided daycare services for the defendant for approximately a week.
A week and a half, Your Honor.
And she removed her child from your care. You claim she did not pay you. The defendant says she did, in fact, pay you. She removed the child because she said that you had hit the child. What kind of facility do you run?
I do an in-home daycare. I'm licensed through my county, and I have a zoning permit that allows me to take in children to do daycare.
How many children do you have?
I have 1 child, and I take care of 4 other children at the present time.
And what age are the other 4 children?
The youngest is 13 months, a year and a half, 2 years, and 2.5 years.
And
my
how old is
daughter's
your
3.
child?
He just turned 3.
And what date did you bring your son to the plaintiff's home?
I believe it was November 19th.
Okay, and what was your financial arrangement with the defendant?
My contract states that I get paid on Mondays, $150 for the week. She came in on a Monday.
You have a copy of the contract?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
She came in on a Monday, told me that she was going to start working on Tuesday. I told her, I said, you know, I understand that it's tight right now with you starting a new job. I said, if you want, I'll let you pay me the following Monday.
This is not a contract. This is that she understands the terms and conditions of child care policy.
I don't do a month.
You have a contract that provides for termination, illness, emergency, and there is a place for her to sign here. Okay, so you brought the child in on Monday and she said she can't pay you until the following week, and you said okay. So you took care of the child from Monday through Friday.
From Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday was Thanksgiving. I told her I was open for business on Friday, and she said she wasn't going to bring him in because it was Thanksgiving holiday. I said, I will not charge you for Thanksgiving Day.
So Tuesday and Wednesday?
And Friday, we agreed because I was open for business, but she chose not to bring him.
And when the next week did you take care of the child?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday, she did not show.
So you actually took care of the child for 6 days. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you say she did not pay you any money?
No, ma'am.
And you say you paid her money?
I paid her for the full 2 weeks, even though she didn't watch him for the full 2 weeks.
Prove it.
I paid her in cash.
Well, tell me about it.
She watched him the first week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think Thursday was Thanksgiving that she didn't watch him.
Well, Thursday is always Thanksgiving, or Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday.
So, but the rest of the week I didn't bring him. And the arrangement was to pay her the following Friday when I got paid. I took him Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. When I took my son there, he started screaming, "No Cindy's house, no Cindy's house." I took him anyway. I picked him up early that day. When I picked him up, he was crying. He said he didn't want to go back. The next morning, I went to take him. That was a Thursday. As soon as we pull up, like in the same vicinity as her home, my son, he's 3, starts screaming, "No, I don't want to go to Cindy. Cindy hit me like that. Cindy hit me like that," like 4 or 5 times. So I turned right back around, took him home, ended up quitting my job because of it, because I didn't want my son to feel threatened. That Friday, my girlfriend came down, got a cash advance from her credit card, gave me $300. We were at my house. Robert was there, and me and her drove over to Cindy's house. I had 3 $100 bills in an envelope. I knocked on the door, handed it to her, and walked away. Monday, I didn't show up. She called and asked where he was. I said, "I'm not bringing him back. He says that you hit him."
Let me tell you why I have reservations about your story, Miss Ryan. Because according to you, on Thursday, you did not bring the child there because you said your son complained that the plaintiff had hit him in the mouth. It doesn't ring true to me that even though your son said that to you, the next day you would make arrangements to go and get $300, which is 2 full weeks of daycare when the child was only there for 6 days, and just walk up to her house without so much as a call. She didn't call you.
Well, she had been calling me prior to that, all day Thursday and Friday. She had called me, and she called my boyfriend, Robert.
And what did she say when she called?
She said that she was going to take us to court. We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Why was she going to take you to court?
Because she wanted, I told her that I would pay her on Friday. I didn't get there till 6:30, court till 7 at night.
We weren't even home.
All
I
day.
had records of
She
her phone
called
calls
there.
of what was said between whom and how many times I had been hung up on. My husband was there when they were hanging up the phone. We actually used my husband's Nextel to make the calls because when we were calling from the house, they would not answer the phone.
Well, you prepared these?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I don't want to read them. Okay, Ms. Pettit, you do not have a signed contract with her that requires her to give you any notice at all. You may think you have a contract, but you do not have a signed contract. So forget the notice provision. By the way, Ms. Ryan, did your son start daycare again anywhere?
Yes, he's in kindercare now.
And when did he start kindercare?
The week of December 22nd.
So it was really just for a few weeks that he was out of daycare?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you had quit your job, you said?
Yes.
Are you back working now?
Yes.
Okay. She took care of your son for 6 days. 6 days at $30 a day is $180. That's what you owe her. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Townsend versus Johnson-Jones. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Townsend, you own a car.
Yes.
And your car was parked in front of your house.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't see what happened, but all you know is somebody hit your car.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And one of these 2 people were driving that car that hit your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
October 19th, about between 6 and 7.
Tell me where you were.
I was inside my house, and I heard this big crash. I got up, went to the door. By the time I made it to the door, 2 of my neighbors were at my door saying, "Someone has just hit your car. You need to come outside." So I went outside, looked at my car, and it was smashed in on the front and just stuff all over the place. So I looked.
You mean debris?
Debris.
Car
That's
debris.
right. That's right. Debris was on the street and on my yard. But the second car wasn't anywhere around. So I went back in, called the police, went back out to look at my car again, and we seen debris going around the street.
So you followed the debris?
We followed debris around the street to another car, which was probably about, it was the next block. The next block, that car was there. It was all smashed in. It was not able to go any further.
Did you see anyone around that car?
I seen Miss Johnson and her baby. Her baby was in
This
the back
lady?
seat. Yes, ma'am. Her baby was in the back seat. She was standing on the outside. She was crying. She was all upset. She got her.
There was a baby in the car?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
her car.
The baby was in the back seat. She got the baby, put it in a restraint.
Also in the seat? In the car?
In the car. Not in the restraint. In the car, on the back seat. She took the baby out of the back seat, put it in the restraint, and she, in the little baby car seat, she set it on the street. And I forgot, someone said, "You need to get that baby out the street." So she got the baby out the street. And by that time, the police come. When the police come, Mr. Dennis...
This gentleman here?
Yes, this man here and his mother come up.
Now, he wasn't there when you first got to the scene?
No, he was not there.
Okay.
Okay, he was not there. He and his mother come up. The police officer was talking to Miss Johnson first. She was all upset. She was crying. When Dennis come up, the police officer was asking them, why did he leave? And he was saying that her father was trying to kill him. He had wrapped the seatbelt around his neck, and they were fighting. He was trying to get away from him, which made him put his foot on the gas and run into my car.
Okay, and that's all you know about this?
And that's all I know.
Okay.
So, well, there's one more thing. Dennis said that he would pay for my car. They said they would pay for it. They were sorry about it, but they never have. She has insurance on the car, but the insurance refused to pay for it because she was not the driver. He was, and he doesn't have any license. So that's why we're here today. I feel like they need to pay for my car.
Who wants to talk first?
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I was standing in the front yard. My dad chased him down the street and grabbed
Chased who down the street?
him. He was driving.
Is he your boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he the father of this baby?
Yes, ma'am.
That was in the back seat of the car?
Yes. And the baby was in a restraint, but by the time she'd gotten there, I'd gotten the baby out of the car and was sitting in the back seat holding the baby. And then when the police were starting to arrive,
let's
I
start
took the
from the
baby.
beginning. Your father is chasing him.
Yes.
Chasing him from where?
From my house.
Where was the baby when your father was chasing him?
In the back seat of the car.
What was the baby doing in the car?
Because me and him and the baby were fixed to leave, but I went in the house, and when I come back out, my dad had started chasing him, and Dennis was leaving to try to get away from him.
Okay. You were planning to leave the house?
Yes.
Where was the car parked?
In the street in front of the house.
Who brought the baby outside?
We had just come to the house. We had been off, and we were going to go back off, but I was stopping at the house to get something, so I had just had
So
her
the
in
two of
car
you
with
had
me.
just driven to your father's house?
Yes.
From where?
I believe we were at the movies.
You went to the movies with a baby? How old's your baby?
She's 17 months.
So you don't remember where you were coming from?
No, ma'am. A lot of stuff happened that night.
No. Now, you were just stopping off at your father's to get something?
Yes.
The baby is in the back seat of the car?
In a car seat.
I hear you. The baby is in the back seat of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Who got out of the car first?
I did.
From what side of the car?
The passenger side.
So Mr. Jones was driving the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I never got...
I didn't speak to you yet. And the car is registered in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
You live with Mr. Jones?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
At my parents' house.
And where does he live?
At his mom's house.
Does Mr. Jones have a valid driver's license?
No, ma'am.
No. So why were you letting him drive your car?
He bought it.
Why doesn't he have a driver's license? If he has enough money to buy a car, why doesn't he have enough sense to get a driver's license so that he can drive it?
I don't know. I don't...
Has he been arrested?
No, ma'am.
Has a DUI?
No, ma'am.
He owes child support?
No, ma'am.
Then why don't you have a driver's license?
I don't know, ma'am.
What do you mean you don't know? Did you ever have a driver's license?
No, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and cooling.
Heating and cooling.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you made your money from to buy this car?
Yes, ma'am.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you filed tax returns? Look at me. When was the last year you filed tax returns?
Probably 99, 2000.
Don't you think you live in a country that has rules and regulations? Now, how would I know to ask you that question? Because somebody that's stupid enough not to have a driver's license and drive a car is also dumb enough to work and not pay taxes. And I say that to you, sir, because of the defense that you registered in your answer, which I find fascinating. I'm going to get to the thrust of this story a little quicker. You went inside, your father started to have an argument with the two of you, or just with him?
Him.
About what?
A statement that Dennis had made that he said was false.
You mean that since your father was doing something wrong?
Yeah.
All right. So they had an argument.
Yes.
And then Dennis did what? Did he run out of the house?
He wasn't in the house. He was outside.
Still in the driver's seat of the car?
Yeah.
So your father ran out and grabbed him?
I wasn't outside at the time. That
Oh,
it all
now
started.
Dennis is going to tell me. So what happened, Dennis?
She went in the house, he come out, and he started fussing on me and stuff. So I crunked the car up, put it in gear. About the time I put it in gear, he was right here at my window, finna hit me. But I give it a little gas, and he grabbed my seat belt. And I looked down, when I, was going down the road, he was running right beside me. When I looked down to grab the seat belt off my neck, because he was pulling it tight on me, And when I looked down, boom, I hit her car, which her car was like 3 foot away from the curb and unlegally parked.
That's his defense, Bird. His defense is he's not responsible because her car was parked the wrong way on the street.
Oh,
that's his defense.
That's good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, that, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving.
And later today,
He said that he had gotten himself arrested for a mistaken identity, is what he told me.
He got himself arrested for a mistaken identity? I didn't know the last time I looked in the penal law that was a crime.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Townsend claims Leanne Johnson and her boyfriend, Dennis Jones, hit her parked car and fled the scene. Dennis says Leanne's angry father was chasing him when he lost control of his vehicle.
How can you dare to say that this accident occurred because her car, which was stationary, that, you know what that means? That means standing still, not moving. And you, who don't have a driver's license, who's not allowed to be behind the wheel, is not responsible. You want to explain that to me? If you weren't doing the wrong thing and driving a car, this wouldn't have happened.
That's true.
That's true. Oh, do you have a picture of the damage to the car, please? This is not a new car, right?
That's right.
But you're entitled to have your car in the same condition as it was before
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wonderful over here hit it.
Yes, ma'am.
So even though it's expensive to put your car back into condition, you're entitled to it. How long have you been working at this heating and cooling company?
For about a year.
You paid in check or cash?
Cash.
Cash. Well, you better start saving your cash. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,692.05. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was thoroughly shocked.
Yeah, I feel bad that it happened.
My car was sitting in front of the house.
I'm sorry can't get along with her now.
Minded its own business. When they were fighting, they hit my car.
Don't be driving.
Justice.
37-year-old trucker John Staley says during a visit with his sister, 38-year-old customer service rep Terry Thompson, she attacked him with a hammer. John says Terry lied to police and had him arrested for domestic violence.
Mr. Staley, the defendant is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, she filed a false police report causing you to be arrested, spending a day in jail. Those charges were subsequently dismissed, but you want her to pay for your lost wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? When did this incident occur that caused you to be arrested?
August 9th,
And where did it take place?
at the defendant's home of residence.
What were you doing there?
On August 9th, I came home to my home, and I found my niece, my oldest niece, on the phone.
Your oldest niece is your daughter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
She was calling people on the phone, and she advised me that her car had broken down. She didn't have any money on her, and she needed help getting the car towed to get the car fixed. And she asked for my assistance. At the point, I didn't really have any money, but as we were discussing this, the tow truck showed up at my residence. So I told Lori to go with the tow truck driver to go get the car, have the vehicle towed, and I would go to the bank, withdraw money to pay for the towing. And Lori needed to go back to her mother's house, so I took Lori back to her mother's house, and that's what I was doing there.
And what happened when you got there?
I walked with Lori upstairs to the apartment. I stayed in the hallway.
Don't put your hand up yet. You'll have an opportunity to tell me your side of the story.
I stayed in the hallway while Lori went in and got her things, and there was a discussion that Terry made about that I owed her an apology over an incident that took place 2 years ago.
Have you spoken to your sister since?
I haven't spoken to my sister since February or March of this year.
But you were outside in the hallway.
I was in the hallway of the apartment.
She came out to the hallway?
Yes, she did.
To tell you
She
that
wanted an apology, and she made some statements, and I told her she needed to get her facts straight on that issue, but I wasn't going to apologize for this incident. It's 2 years old, and there was no need, and I felt I was in the right of that incident.
Okay.
And she told me to leave, and I tried telling her that I needed to take Lori back to get her car, and she said, no, you're not. She demanded that I leave, and if I didn't leave, she was going to go in, get a hammer, and she was going to beat me with the hammer. And I said, fine. So I turned around, I started walking down the steps. I was on the second step when my sister tried shoving me down the stairs. As she was pushing for me from behind, I turned around with my arm, I raised my arm in defense, and at the same time I tried to maintain my balance on the stairwell.
Had she gotten the hammer?
Not at that point. She got hysterical and everything. She started screaming out loud, and she ran back into her apartment. And I started walking down the stairs, and I was at the first turnaround. There's 3 flights of stairs, and there's a turnaround at one point, and that's when she emerged with the hammer from the apartment.
Did she come down the stairs to
Yes,
where
she
you
did.
were?
I started running down the stairs. I was at the bottom of the stairs when we came together, and she went to swing the hammer, and I put my hands up in a high blocking fashion, and the hammer caught my right forearm, and then I returned a kick to Terry, kicking her away from me, and this bought me a couple seconds to get out the door. Terry then chased me out the door, and I turned and I tossed my keys at Terry. I missed Terry, and my keys went into the bushes on the east side of the doorwell. And then she continued to swing the hammer, and she started yelling to her neighbors, "Call 911! I'm being assaulted!" as she was swinging the hammer.
Did you report this to the police?
Yes, I did.
When?
What happened was Lori came out, and I ended up taking Lori back to her car.
When did you report this to the police?
After I dropped my niece off at her car, I went straight to the sheriff's department.
And what happened when you got there?
They interviewed me, and I told them about the apology and
Told them the story.
Told them the story. They said they had to talk to Terry about the hammer because she didn't originally tell them about the hammer. And they come back and they said she admitted to using the hammer and that I admitted to kicking her. And as far as they were concerned, this was mutual combat. And their policy is to take one of us to jail. They elected me because I was already there.
And subsequently the charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see your paperwork, please. Now, Ms. Thompson, you tell me your version of these events, please.
He's been told several times, this would meaning the 5th time of this year, that he doesn't need to be over harassing me or coming over to my apartment. There's no reason for him to be over there since we do not get along. There's been a few domestic disputes in the past.
Whatever. Your daughter came home to gather some stuff. Your brother is standing outside in the hallway of your apartment. What happened from there?
Okay. Well, I buzzed my daughter to get in. I only seen my daughter get in.
Fine. Your brother is standing in the landing.
He pushed his way in my apartment.
Where was he in the apartment?
He was standing in the living room.
Is the living room as soon as you enter into the door?
Yep.
Fine. Okay. So he's standing in the living room. What happened next?
He was trying to say hi, and he was being very much agitating and aggressive. And I said, why are you here? You know, you don't get along. We don't get along.
What did he tell you?
He was very much trying to say hi,
No,
very
Miss Thompson.
jumping up and down.
Miss Thompson, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
He was there wages, which in this case, all he's suing for is $134.84. You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused.